One source saying that the White House pulled the nomination today because it became clear that Weldon did not have the votes for confirmation. All right, a chance of showers or storms later on today, but this weekend is when you really need to be weather aware.
This line of storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts that could knock down trees and power lines, as well as producing a few tornadoes.
WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards says the timeline for the severe storms will be from 10 p.m. Saturday through 6 a.m. Sunday. We'll have Atlanta Radio's most accurate and dependable forecast, your 5-day forecast, coming up at 12:05. All right, as you get in your car for lunch, this is an interesting story. Fewer vehicles are actually getting noticed for their safety. Why is that? Jeff Gilbert has the answer.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety honoring 45 vehicles this year. Last year, they had 71 top safety picks. President David Harkey says they've made the test tougher.
The numbers are down this year, and that's because we're really emphasizing how to protect those occupants in the rear seats of vehicles.
Mazda had the most vehicles getting safety honors. Harkey disappointed that few minivans and pickups made the list.
And while you're in your car, we told you about the Peach Pass scam text messages that have been going out. Well, now the FBI is sounding the alarm today. FBI Atlanta saying the number of those text messages has jumped dramatically in the last month. Reported losses in the thousands. They say there could be much more lost to these scams that we just don't know about. 6 days of early voting for the April special election gets unanimous approval from the Cobb Elections Board.
Voters can go to any one of 4 locations across the county to cast in-person ballots prior to the April 29th special election. The dates are April 19th and then each day April 21st through the 25th. There will be no voting on Easter Sunday. Each location will also have a drop box for absentee ballots. The races are for county commission seats in District 2 and 4. Democrat Eric Allen and Republican Alicia Adams both vying for the open seat in the redrawn District 2. Democratic incumbent Monique Sheffield hopes to hold her District 4 seat in a race with the Republican challenger Matthew Hardwick. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
Well, weather permitting, you're going to be able to see a total lunar eclipse tonight. Astronomer Carissa Zdanki with the TELUS Science Museum in Cartersville says it's called the blood moon.
What we will see is the moon moving into Earth's full shadow, so it should turn red, and then after a few hours it will go back to its usual color.
Zdanki says the eclipse begins around 1 a.m. and should peak just before 3 a.m. Did you hear about this? Police in Connecticut say a woman kept her stepson locked in her home for more than 20 years. Roger Sanea says has more from Waterbury, Connecticut.
He claims that starting at the age of 11, he was imprisoned essentially in a 9-foot by 8-foot room by his stepmother, and that he was kept in that room for at least 22 hours a day. He was rarely allowed to leave, only to do chores, and he was given very little food and water. In fact, he claims that some days he was only given 2 glasses of water in a single day, and that they actually came straight from the toilet.
The man intentionally set a fire in his bedroom to escape. When he was rescued, he was emaciated, weighing only 68 pounds. The stepmother's attorney denies all the allegations. The latest figures show Georgia's unemployment rates holding steady despite a drop in available jobs.
The Georgia Department of Labor says the state unemployment rate remains unchanged at 3.6%. That beats the national rate by 0.4%. The department says jobs statewide were down by over 28,000 in the latest January report. The sectors with the biggest gains include durable goods manufacturing and state government. Transportation and warehousing saw the biggest losses. Meanwhile, jobless claims were up over 3,400. Cheryl Castro, 95.5 WSB.
And new here at noon, after weeks of market volatility, one expert says investors should use caution.
Stocks have been falling for about a month as a result of new tariffs, fears of a recession, and more. But Kennesaw State University economics professor Roger Tutterow says don't focus too much on the downward trend.
I typically discourage investors from monitoring the market on a daily basis. They should take a longer-term perspective and think about what kind of return they'll get over a long period of time.
In fact, he says it could be a good time to buy.
Particularly if you're a younger investor where you're thinking for the long run, I think you really need to kind of turn away some of the noise here.
He also says it's a reminder to hold a diverse portfolio. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
All right, let's take a look at the markets. We're in the red. The Dow's down 414, so the Dow's down a full percent. NASDAQ's down more than 1.5%, and the S&P's down more than a full percent. Time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams has a look at the roads.
Checking on a new slow zone right in the heart of downtown. 75-85 southbound getting very slow, getting past I-20. I'm going to scan the jam cam and see what's causing that delay. Elsewhere, we've got construction on I-20 eastbound just past Wesley Chapel Road, exit 68 in DeKalb County. That blocks a left lane. And elsewhere, construction coming up from the southern suburbs. 85 northbound in Fairburn passing Highway 74, Sonoya Road, exit 61. That's in in the right lane, but it's mostly just slowing that on-ramp as you got to navigate those construction barrels to access 85 northbound from Highway 74. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Now, Labor Day is only 5-day forecast, sponsored by Shoemate, the official plumber of Atlanta Homes. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Cloudy skies today, high 72. A few pop-up showers and thunderstorms this afternoon between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers, then watching a line of thunderstorms as they move in from Alabama to the state of Georgia. This line of storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts that could knock down trees and power lines, as well as producing a few tornadoes. The timeline for this line of storms would be 10 p.m. Saturday through 6 a.m. Sunday, drying out Sunday afternoon, high near 70. Monday, mostly sunny, high 65.
We'll have more news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome across the fruited plain. It is Eric Erickson here, your host, to keep you entertained. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you with me. Don't forget, you can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, and you'll be able to get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and a whole lot more. Those of you in Georgia, very important, we have an action alert for your state. If you text the word ENGAGE to 33777, you can reach out to your state senators and tell them to support the Dale Washburn legislation killing speed cameras in your state. I did get asked yesterday, why not do one in Texas for school choice? To answer that, I mentioned it before, but I was asked not to by those groups that are doing the advocacy for school choice in Texas. Don't want to step on their toes, so we're not doing one there. But as we have events in your state, you get those as well. In Georgia, text ENGAGE to 33777. Let's talk about simplistic thinking to start the show, because there is some news that discombobulates the simplistic thinking of the left and their preferred narrative. Since 2016, the Democrats could not admit Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate. They couldn't do it. At first, you will recall, they blamed James Comey for her defeat. At first, they said it was him signaling at the end of the campaign there was an ongoing investigation about the email server, and new information from her, what was her name? Now I can't remember, who was married to the congressman who exposed himself. Now I can't remember, but nonetheless, you remember the details of the story. And at first, the Democrats blamed James Comey. But then they said, wait, James Comey appears to be one of us. Let's blame the Russians instead. When the Mueller investigation came out, the Mueller investigation found out that the Russians spent basically $25,000 on Facebook ads. But the Democrats say, no, it means they interfered in the election. But don't point out that in 1984, Ted Kennedy actually wrote to the Soviets and asked them to interfere in the American election against Ronald Reagan. No, you can't bring that up. The Kennedys are sacrosanct, except Robert Kennedy Jr. now, because he's working with Trump. Ted Kennedy in 1984, we know because we got into the KGB archives when the Soviet Union fell. Wow, that was redneck of me. When the Soviet Union fell, when the Soviet Union fell, we got into the archives and found the letter to the Kremlin from Ted Kennedy asking the Soviets to appear to moderate key positions in order to undermine Ronald Reagan in 1984. But you're not allowed to bring that up. You're not allowed to say that the Democrats actually tried to get the Soviets to interfere. They're like, no, the Russians did interfere for Donald Trump. And the Mueller investigation found they didn't actually interfere for Donald Trump. What the Russians wanted to do was turn American against American, have us internally fighting each other, and they were pretty successful at it. Look at the Democrats who can't be honest about 2016. But ever since then, the narrative has been Donald Trump is a plant for the Russians. They have a P-tape on him. Some prostitute urinating on Donald Trump, and he doesn't want it exposed. That's what this is about. They're blackmailing him, and he loves Vladimir Putin, and Putin is like his arm, Jim Henson's arm up Donald Trump's rectum moving his mouth. Vladimir Putin is his Jim Henson. It is Vladimir Putin in charge. You might as well start speaking Russian. The Russians are in charge of Donald Trump. Yeah. Did you know when Donald Trump was president the first time, he actually threw more Russian diplomats out of the nation than Barack Obama ever did? It does not matter. That was all for show. And, you know, the Donald Trump administration imposed more sanctions on the Russians when he was president of the United States than Barack Obama did after the invasion of Crimea. It does not matter. They found a way to get around that. Donald Trump is in the pocket of the Russians. Donald Trump is bought and paid for by Russia. It was always simplistic thinking. They never let the facts get in the way of their thinking. Well, now today comes word that the Russians have decided they don't actually want a peace deal in Ukraine. The American delegation has gone to Russia, having gotten an agreement from Ukraine to an immediate ceasefire, and the Russians are rejecting the ceasefire terms. Of course they are. Donald Trump did that to the Ukrainians just for show. He attempted to undermine the Ukrainians and gave up their intelligence. Donald Trump is initiating intelligence ties with Ukraine today. They're not really going to give them that. They're not going to do it. Turns out Donald Trump today is announcing that he is revoking the Biden administration's exemption that allowed sanctioned Russian banks to process European payments for oil sales. The Treasury Department has in the last 30 minutes ended the ability of European countries to buy oil and natural gas from the Russians. No one in Europe right now can purchase Russian oil. The natural gas ban is forthcoming. Joe Biden. They're out of talking points now. It was always so simplistic. It was always so simplistic. Donald Trump sees the world differently from the Democrats and the prevailing bulk of the Republican establishment, and the only way the Democrats could process it is he must have been bought and paid for by the Russians. That's not actually true. Donald Trump has just ended Russian oil sales to the European Union, and you will note not a single Democrat who thinks Donald Trump is bought and paid for by the Russians ever was willing to call out Joe Biden for allowing the Russians to continue to sell oil in Europe. In fact, you know what the spin is? You know what the spin is right now is that, well, Joe Biden provided a wind down period. And this is actually the end of the wind down period. That's actually the spin. I'm not actually making that up. This is coming from multiple people who said this was already in the works from the Biden administration, and all the Trump administration is doing what the Biden administration began doing some time ago. When did the Biden administration begin the process? When did the Biden administration begin the process? At the end of his tenure in office. Not at the beginning, not when the Russians invaded Ukraine. Joe Biden waited until he was on the way out the door to wind down Russian oil sales. And I'll tell you what it was a trap. It was a trap. See, the Democrats are so convinced with their simplistic thinking that Donald Trump is bought and paid for by the Russians. The Biden administration for 4 years allowed the Russians to sell oil to the Europeans unimpeded with an exemption, and then on his way out the White House door, decided to put in a provision saying you can't do this anymore, but we're not going to prohibit you until after Donald Trump becomes president, because you know, and I know, Donald Trump is going to get rid of this, and he's going to allow the Russians to continue to sell oil, and he'll be exposed as in the pocket of the Russians. Donald Trump will be exposed. Except Donald Trump is enforcing the ban. Donald Trump is doing exactly opposite what the Democrats gambled he'd do. There was conversation at the time. public conversation, that this would show Americans that Donald Trump was in the pocket of the Russians. Joe Biden would prohibit sales of oil from Russia to Europeans. He would give up the exemption that he had put in place, and Donald Trump would undo it and expose it. None of the Democrats in their simplistic thinking thought, wait a second, why have we been allowing this to begin with? Why have we for 4 years allowed the Russians to do this? No. You're not allowed to ask that question. Never, ever, ever ask that question about the Democrats. Only ask it about why Donald Trump is in the pocket of the Russians. Why is he helping the Russians? He's not. The Europeans have been spending more money on Russian oil and natural gas than they've been giving to the Ukrainians. Now, the great conspiracy theorists out there on the right who try to rationalize everything and tie all the strings together and connect all the dots, their simplistic thinking is that, well, see, the Europeans just want a forever war. The Europeans want war always and forever, and that's why they're spending so much money on Russian oil and natural gas and barely any money on Ukraine. They just want to keep the war going. That's not really true. It sounds conveniently plausible for people who don't dig too deep. When you dig deep, what do you find? You find that over the last 20 years, the European environmentalist left that has been in the pocket of the Soviet Union and now the Russians for years has been working as supposedly independent voices on the environment in Europe. And over the last 20 years, they've convinced the Europeans that you've got to wind down your nuclear energy plants because of Chernobyl. You've got to wind down your natural gas because of climate change. You've got to give up your coal because of climate change. You've got to use wind and solar energy. But wind and solar energy doesn't work when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. So you know what? We'll just buy natural gas from the Russians. For the last 20, 25 years, the environmentalists left, funded first by the Soviets, now by the Russians and the Chinese, have been making the Europeans dependent on Russia for energy. So the Europeans could sleep well at night saying, we're not producing natural gas. We have massive natural gas and oil and coal reserves, and we're not touching them to save the environment. We don't want to be scowled at by Greta Thunberg. So they've been dependent on the Russians. So they can't not do this. They can't not buy the oil and natural gas from Russia. They don't want to. They don't want to be dependent, but they are because of the environmentalist left. That's why you're having these massive upheavals in the elections in Europe right now between immigration and environmentalism. They want to stop the Russians, but they're addicts. They want to give it up, but they're addicted. There's a lot of self-loathing among the European elite that they've gotten themselves in this position. And here comes Donald Trump to break them cold turkey from Russian oil, something Joe Biden wouldn't do. The Democrats really believed they were going to set a trap for Donald Trump and expose him to the world as in the pocket of the Russians, because there was no way Donald Trump was going to keep a ban on Russian oil in place, because that would hurt Vladimir Putin. And after all, Donald Trump is in the pocket of Vladimir Putin. Guess what? Effective today, you cannot transact business for oil exchanges in Europe through banking. No European payments can be processed for oil sales from Russia now. The United States is in charge of routing those transactions. The United States being the leading banking entity. And by the way, this is why you want American leadership to remain in the world. This is why you want the United States to continue to lead the free world. Because think of our power in being able to block these transactions with the Russians. Our ability to control this conversion system for banking and funds is a powerful weapon that we have that China wants to wrest from us, and they can't do it because nobody trusts the Chinese. So we have this power. Joe Biden really did believe, with the simplistic Democratic thinking, that Donald Trump was a tool of Vladimir Putin, and he would set him up to be exposed. And instead, Joe Biden just did the one thing that the environmentalist left in the United States does not want to do, just made American oil companies a whole lot richer. Because if the Europeans can't buy oil from Russia, guess who they're going to buy the oil from? Which has always been, and will always be, for Donald Trump and the rest of his administration, it's all about his America First agenda. It always has been, and it's going to be. And if you understood that about Donald Trump instead of the simplistic thinking of the left, you would understand that when given the opportunity to help American oil companies, Donald Trump was going to do it. As of today, if you're a European company and you want oil, you got to buy from European countries, Canada or the United States. Venezuela, Iran, and now Russia are off the table for you because, well, Donald Trump isn't in the pockets of the Russians. He's just thinking differently than the way Democrats want.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1221 Cool Day Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. New trouble in Lithonia. Our traffic troopers saw it. We got it on the jam cam. It's a left lane crash. I-20 westbound, Turner Hill Road, exit 75. Delays are slowly starting to creep back toward Rockdale County, so be mindful of that. You got the left lane construction, I-20 eastbound heading toward Lithonia into Cab before you get to Panola Road, exit 71. Had a stall downtown, 75-85 southbound around I-20. Hero and tow truck got that out of the HOV lane, but lingering effect back into Midtown, slowing the ride as you come down from 17th Street. Some northbound delays, just sluggish, trying to make your way up past Freedom Parkway, heading toward Midtown. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When the weather is at its worst,
A line of thunderstorms that arrive as early as midnight Sunday morning, moving through downtown Atlanta around 2 a.m.
we're at our best.
This is a good time to download the WSB Radio app. You can hear our live coverage even if the power goes out at your house.
Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store.
Strong winds, heavy rain, and tornado warnings.
With your severe weather station, 95.5 WSB.
Hey folks, it's Eric Erickson here. Well, it's Trump 2.0 now, and things are changing quickly. Every day, changes to taxes, tariffs, foreign policy, moving at a pace we haven't seen in a very long time, definitely not in the last 4 years. What about your retirement plan? Many of you know about the Magnificent Seven stocks like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They've been behind a lot of the market's recent growth. I saw my buddy David Nicholas on Stuart Varney show the other day. David is my wife's and my financial advisor, and he was talking about what he calls the MAGA 7 stocks and sectors he thinks are going to have the most opportunity in this new Trump administration era. Well, you know, David gave my wife and me a complimentary Morningstar analysis. It's $1,000 value, but right now my listeners can get it complimentary. He's going to give you guys what he gave my wife and me. If you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, call Nicholas Wealth Management. Get this unbelievably valuable analysis for free. David and his team will review it with you, give you some total clarity, and get you ready for your nest egg in this new era. So if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, please go to nicholaswealth.com. That's NICHOLAS wealth.com. Or call 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad. The following is a paid commercial announcement.
There's a hidden tax costing hardworking Georgians over $5,000 every year. Governor Kemp's tort reform legislation will end this tax and lower costs for families. It will also protect victims. Listen to Governor Kemp.
The bill that I will sign is not going to keep anyone in this state from receiving the justice that they deserve.
Ensuring our justice system is fair and accessible and lowering costs for us. Tell Georgia's lawmakers, stand with Governor Kemp and pass tort reform. Paid for by Protecting American Consumers Together.
Hey, Belinda here, and I have Barry Petrie, Director of Virtual Imaging. Barry has a very interesting testimonial to share with our listeners. Barry, tell us your story.
Well, Belinda, exactly a year ago when I took over my role, one of the first things I did was scan. And at the time, I was 54 years old, never had any issues, was in a good shape, worked out every day. And I was shocked to find out that I had a score of over 1,000 on my calcium. So, and most of that 1,000 was concentrated in my LAD, which you know is the widowmaker.
Not good.
So immediately started working with an interventional cardiologist, started working with a functional medicine specialist to try to correct that. And unfortunately, about 4 months ago, I started having symptoms and rescanned. And at this point, my calcium score had gone from 1,000 over 1,500, and that LAD score had gone up to over 1,000. So Long story short, ended up going to Northside, getting a stent put into my LAD. And now today I feel great. I regained the gear that I didn't know that I had lost. And had I not taken this role as director of virtual imaging a year ago, I probably would have not known this. And I could have been one of those folks that looks perfectly healthy and drops dead.
Absolutely. Folks, that story hits home. What are you waiting for? Go to Virtual Imaging and get a complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse. Call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or visit virtualimagingatl.com. It could save your life.
Hey, Dave Baker here. Let's talk garage doors. Your garage door. Is it too loud or letting air in around the frame? Overhead Door Company of Atlanta will make it all better. In March only, they will perform their full 26-task garage door tune-up for just $79, and just in March. That's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year anyway, so why not now and for just $79? Schedule now at overheaddooratlanta.com.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. All the information without the spin. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, conversationalist. It is Eric Erickson. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you'd like to be on the program, I gotta tell you, there are a couple of reporters out there saying that they're not sure that Donald Trump's refusal to walk back the ban on oil is intentional or not. They're not saying. Here's my thinking. Just so you understand, the Russians have said no ceasefire. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Donald Trump's not altering the order. He didn't fall for Biden's trap, and now he's got leverage on the Russians for negotiating with the Ukrainians. He's allowing intelligence. They're telling the Ukrainians they will get a security guarantee for the mineral deal. He's turning the conventional wisdom on its head that so many people were just convinced he would do whatever Vladimir Putin wanted, and it's never been true. Y'all, I'm willing to criticize Donald Trump. I get hate mail from Donald Trump supporters on a regular basis that I'm not deferential enough, that I'm not sympathetic enough, that I'm not supportive enough. You name it. I'm telling you, he's never been in the pockets of the Russians. He just thinks about this stuff differently. He thinks about it transactionally. He thinks about it as a negotiation tactic. Blocking the sale of Russian oil to Europe gives Donald Trump leverage to get the Russians to deal with the Ukrainians. He got the Ukrainians to agree to their side of the deal. He got the Ukrainians to go along with the mineral deal. That's coming. He's giving security guarantees, peaceful security guarantees. And he's telling the Russians right now, you want to keep selling oil to the Europeans, which they want to do because the Russians need the money. Otherwise, we're going to get rich. Our oil companies are going to get rich. We're going to do a Berlin airlift of oil to Europe. It makes a lot of sense. A strong negotiation tactic. Now, some people want to know, how can he stop this? Because all Russian sales of oil happen in American dollars, and the Europeans trade in American dollars, and so Trump is blocking the conversion of European money into Russian money through the American exchange. Bank collapses are happening right now. Inflation, it looks to be settled right now, but the economy appears to be slowing down, not because of Trump, it's just slowing down a bit. And Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash, the government trying to control your spending, monitor your spending, even with digital currency. Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years, and they have been rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They want to give you their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. All you have to do is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's spreading. So read the Secret War on Cash report completely free. Just mention Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This just in. Russian President Vladimir Putin saying today that Russia agrees in principle with the U.S. ceasefire proposal, but the terms need to be worked out. Speaking through an interpreter.
This ceasefire should lead to an enduring peace and should remove the root causes of this crisis.
Now, Putin said that Ukrainian troops are encircled in their last foothold in Russia's Kursk region, and before a ceasefire can take effect, they need to determine whether they'll lay down their weapons and surrender. We could have a few showers or storms this afternoon, but WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards says the real threat's going to be this weekend.
Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers, then watching a line of thunderstorms as they move in from Alabama to the state of Georgia.
And she says the timeline's going to be from 10 p.m. Saturday through 6 a.m. Sunday morning. President Trump may be about to push his planned deportations program into overdrive.
The Trump administration is reportedly poised to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to speed up the mass deportations of migrants. CNN is reporting that the sweeping authority meant to be invoked in wartime has been under discussion at multiple agencies, and an announcement could come as early as tomorrow.
Vicki Barker reports legal experts have argued this use of the law could face an uphill battle in court. The White House pulls the CDC director nomination of Dr. Dave Weldon. The Senate Health Committee announcing today that it was canceling a planned hearing on Weldon's nomination because of the withdrawal. No reason was given, but one source says it became clear that Weldon did not have the votes for confirmation. And the number of Americans filing for unemployment fell slightly last week, indicating a still healthy U.S. labor market. It's 12:32.
When it rains, you need to make sure your home is protected from the ground up. That means starting in your crawl space. Water in your crawl space can lead to problems in your house. Crawl space issues? Visit aquaguard.net today and book a free inspection. Remember, AquaGuard.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
As a trucker, I know how challenging these last 4 years have been. I'm Congressman Mike Collins, and I've been hitting the road listening to Georgians across my district. Please know that help is on the way, and follow along at collins.house.gov.
Paid for with official funds from the Office of Representative Mike Collins.
Hey, this is Congressman Mike Collins. I'm fighting every day for America First policies in Washington, and I want to hear from you about how we can make our country better. Reach out at collins.house.gov and let me know.
Paid for with official funds from the Office of Representative Mike Collins.
Is painting the house on your project list? Make this the last time you paint with Rhino Shield, backed by a 25-year warranty.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Nobody wants to think about their septic system. Hi, I'm Shannon. I started Scorpion Septic so you don't have to. My licensed, insured, experienced team responds 24/7 with fast, on-time service, upfront pricing, and high-quality work.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump-out charge with your repair. Call for more information. ScorpionSepticServices.com.
ScorpionSepticServices.com.
Alex Williams has a look at the roads.
Crash still in Lithonia in the left lane, 20 westbound Turner Hill Road. Delays stretching back toward Rockdale County. And now a new crash southwest leg of the perimeter. It's in the right lane, 285 southbound. The outer loop right at the ramps to I-85. That's going to slow you to Washington Road. Before that, right lane construction heading south just past Langford Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Cloudy skies today, high 72. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening hours. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, a few rain showers in the morning. Then the line of strong to severe thunderstorms arrive between 10 p.m. on Saturday through 6 a.m. on Sunday. Damaging wind gusts and a few tornadoes possible early Sunday morning.
More news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson. I hope you are doing well. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you wherever you are in the nation. We've got some scheduled programming not programming changes, station changes coming up on Monday. So Dan Bongino, who is the radio show host on Cumulus Westwood One's network, is leaving to go into the Trump administration as the deputy director of the FBI. And so we got a bunch of his stations that'll be joining us on Monday. And some of my existing stations also run Dan. They run Me and DeLay, run Dan live. And on Monday, they're all rolling me over live. So kind of a big momentous time here. Looking forward to growing the show. Thank you for your support in doing so. It's going to be a lot of fun to grow this. By the way, there's some breaking news I need to get to before I get to anything else. Vladimir Putin, now that it has come out that the administration is going to prohibit European purchases of oil from Russia, the Putin regime in Russia is signaling that they are open in principle to the president's ceasefire terms for Ukraine. Funny how that works. We had a lot of people call in. They didn't want to go in here, but they're like, Erickson, how exactly is the president of the United States capable of blocking the sale of oil from Russia to Europe? It's actually very easy. The major processors for oil come not through the euro or through the ruble in Russia, but are done in American dollars. If you wish to buy Russian oil, you have to go through an American exchange. If you're outside of Russia, China, or Saudi Arabia, you got to go through an American exchange. There is no mechanism in Europe to wire money to Russia for oil. The wires for oil are routed through American processors in dollars, not in euros. The purchase of oil is made based in dollars, not in euros. So for the Europeans to buy the oil from Russia, the money is in dollars routed through American exchanges and commodity markets to the Russians. And what Joe Biden did as he was walking out of office is said, I'm going to prohibit those wires from being routed in dollars through the United States. And I dare Trump to change it, and he'll be exposed as a tool of the Russians. And Trump has said, I'm not changing it. So the Europeans have no way to get the money to the Russians, short of putting it into the back of a wagon and carting it across the border, which they're not going to do. It's got to be routed financially over the internet through American systems using American dollars. And Donald Trump has just said, effective immediately, that's not going to happen. So the Europeans can't buy the oil from Russia. They have to buy the oil from us. That's, again, there are a lot of people who want to withdraw the United States from the world stage and want to withdraw American leadership from the world. This is a tangible benefit of American leadership in the world. The world's economy works in American dollars. The Chinese and the Russians want to change that. The problem is no one trusts the Chinese, and the Chinese economy isn't stable, so the American reserve currency still matters. You give up American leadership of the free world, you give up our ability to have this power. It makes the dollar less useful in the world, which means it makes it less valuable for us, which means it makes it less an investment, which means it hurts the United States. our leadership in the world, yes, there are things we do that we don't want to do. Take some of the good foreign aid stuff we do. Even a lot of people are like, we don't want to do that, but we do that, and in exchange, we lead the world. And in our leadership of the world, then we get to control these markets, and the Americans have the power to put their foot down and say, we're not allowing this exchange to happen on the global market. Other countries hate it. You should like it. It gives us an advantage in the world. That means that our interest rates are lower than everywhere else. Our exchange rates are lower than everywhere else. Our currency conversion rates are lower than everywhere else. It makes us have more spending clout. And even at times when the dollar is weak and everyone else's currency is more expensive, our dollar is still stronger than it otherwise would be because of a result of this. It's why American leadership of the free world continues to matter. To the phones, Darren in Jacksonville, Florida, listening on WOKV. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Eric, I am fantastic, buddy. It's so great to talk with you. Listen to you pretty much every day or anytime I'm in my vehicle between noon and 3, and I totally enjoy the show. So enlightening and entertaining. I want to ask you, and this tariff thing, we are banging the drum, at least the media is just banging and banging. I heard again this morning, 200% tariff on Europe on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing, the nation is not seeing all the other tariffs that they are putting on American products and American goods that are going out. And I think Trump is just trying to reciprocate some of the tariffs to it's creating a trade war, it appears, to the average American person. So I would just like you to enlighten your listeners a little bit more on why the media seems to, I know it's to destroy Donald Trump or make him look bad, but is this something that is going to help eventually? Is it going to get worse before it gets better, I guess?
Look, I do think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And part of the reason here is there is a level of uncertainty coming from the administration on when's it going to start, when's it going to stop, what's it going to be on, which countries are going to be affected. You got to remember that there's a lot of smoke out there, smoke and mirrors and distractions. It's not just reciprocal tariffs that are happening. We actually are imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. There are reciprocal tariffs that the president intends to impose on Europe, but this is part of the problem here. Let me see if I can explain this one to you. And the easiest way to explain it is every single one of us, because I've talked about it on this program, so you should know, is aware of the 285% tariff on dairy sold to Canada. And the president says we're going to do a reciprocal tariff, 285% on Canadian dairy here. Here's the catch, though. There's an export amount that the United States is allowed to export to Canada, and that amount was negotiated by Donald Trump in 2018. And as long as we don't cross a certain threshold, there's no tariff. And the way the Trump administration is talking about the tariffs is muddying the water in that it sounds to people on the outside that Trump is saying if you have a 285% tariff, we're going to give you a 285% tariff. Well, what about the export caps? That's the concern with the Europeans right now, is the Europeans are going to impose a 200% tariff on alcohol, things like that, and beef, alcohol, beef, and a few other products. And the issue is there are all sorts of caps that the United States can flood the European markets with beef and alcohol, American alcohol, bourbon, and things like that. And as long as they don't hit a certain cap in the amount sold in Europe, there's no tariff. So now the Europeans are saying we're going to do this to the United States. And because it sounds like Donald Trump is ignoring the caps, they're going to ignore the caps. And so what we need is clarity, and that's the problem. And to the extent the media has a legitimate criticism, it is clarity. We need clarity on will the caps be respected? Because here's the thing. If we have just standard reciprocal tariffs, it becomes a bureaucratic nightmare. You actually, as DOGE is cutting the American bureaucracy, you have to increase the bureaucracy to manage because every country has classifications of goods, every country has different rates, so you're going to have a massive unwieldy tariff bureaucracy to try to manage it. That's why typically we have classification of goods tariffs, not per country tariffs. However, there are ways around the tariff issue, and this is where everybody needs clarity. So why do tariffs typically become a thing? Let's start there. Typically, the way tariffs become a thing is there is a well-heeled lobbying group in a country for an industry, and it wants to be protected. It doesn't like competition. It doesn't think it can compete, and so it wants protections. And so it gets tariffs. What the United States typically does in situations like this is it comes into a country and says, listen, we're going to tariff the snot out of everything in your country unless you allow us to export to your country what we're already exporting. So if we do $300 billion in bourbon exports to your country, we want to be able next year to do $300 billion in tariff exports to your country and bourbon exports to your country indexed for inflation without the tariff. So what that country will typically do to placate its internal industry and to placate us is say, okay, we're going to impose a 200% tariff on bourbon from the United States only if you exceed $300 billion in sales in our country. We're not exceeding $300 billion in sales in the country, therefore there actually is no tariff. So it looks like they're giving a tariff to their industry even though they're not. They save face with us, they save face with their industry, there's actually no tariff applied. That's typically the way reciprocal tariffs have worked. It's the way the Canadian tariff works on dairy. Donald Trump himself negotiated in 2018. He took our present rate of dairy imports to Canada, indexed it for inflation, and said if we go over this, you can impose the 285% tariff. If we stay under it, you can't. And we've only once since 2018 gone over, and that was during COVID, and they wound up waiving the tariff because of COVID extenuating circumstances. So keep that perspective in mind. A lot of times reciprocal tariffs are just a show. Here's another example. In my state of Georgia where I am, you have the speed tickets, the speed cameras in front of schools. And what's happening is if a politician or a judge gets a ticket, the company says we're going to waive this ticket. So the judges and the politicians have no incentive to realize there's a problem with the cameras. Everybody else is stuck with the ticket. But the powerful people aren't. And now you've got these camera companies in Georgia have thrown $150,000 at the Republicans in the state Senate. Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor, has gotten $150,000 into his Senate campaign war chest from these companies. They're essentially bribing the Republicans to stand with the powerful companies and also behind the scenes saying, wink, wink, if you ever get one of these tickets, we won't make you pay the fine. And so they ignored it. It's all for show. It works a lot of times tariffs the same way. That, hey, we're going to impose a tariff, but you're not actually going to have to pay it. It's going to make people look like we're doing something, but we're not actually doing it. It's the same way. By the way, those of you who want to fight the school cameras in Georgia, text ENGAGE to 33777, and you can get your state senator, call your state senator. Literally, it's so easy, you should try it. Text ENGAGE to 33777. You get a link back. You put in your cell phone number. You press the button. Your cell phone rings, and it's me connecting you to your state senator to say, kill the speed cameras, support the legislation to get rid of them. Tariffs have a lot of political gamesmanship in them, just like those camera tickets. Tariffs sound fearsome, but what actually happens is they carve out so many caps and exceptions that few actually pay them. So the question for the Europeans right now is Donald Trump going to respect the caps or not? And if he does, then there's no trade war. Otherwise, there's a trade war. We need the clarity. The clarity gives businesses the certainty by which they can plan. And without it, it's kind of the tariff hokey pokey and nobody knows exactly what's going on. And that becomes the problem here. So all I would do is tell the Trump administration, if you want to go down this road, go down this road. God bless you. Do it. Just give us some clarity on when it's going to happen and what the rates are going to be. And don't change your mind tomorrow. And that'll calm all the market jitters. They may not like it, but it'll calm the jitters. That's all they need is clarity so they can plan for the future. They perceive a slowdown's coming. They want to be able to plan. Now, since we don't know where the tariffs are doing, you want to go to visioncomputers.com today and try to get your computer built before any sort of technology tariffs are imposed on other countries. If you go to 404-COMPUTE, you can call them, any one of you, nationwide, 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. They'll work with you on building you a new computer. They'll save you money. on your computer. In fact, if you tell them Eric sent you, you're going to save even more money. And then you get their world-class tech support. Thousands of 5-star reviews. You call Vision Computers at 404-COMPUTE. You let them build the computer. You get this tech support where if you ever have a problem with your computer, you get a phone number, and they answer the phone quick. Like between 3 and 15 seconds, they answer the phone. And you ask them your question, and they help you. They can even remote into your computer and fix things for you. They can be your tech support for your company, too. Let's say you're a small businessman and you're the tech support for your company. Like me with my company. I am the tech support for my company. With Vision, you can pay them $179 a year, and for each computer in your company, they'll be the tech support for that employee's computer. So instead of answering your secretary's question on where is my Word document, well, she calls Vision, and they find it for her where she hid it on her computer and forgot. 404-COMPUTE, visioncomputers.com. Any one of you nationwide, take advantage of it.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1250 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still dealing with this crash on the south side by the airport. I think they're about to get it off to the right, though. 285 southbound, the outer loop right at I-85, exit 62. Still holding that right lane. Should be off to the right soon. That's why you're seeing the brake lights coming down from Camp Creek Parkway. In DeKalb County, looks like that left lane crash is cleared. 20 westbound around Turner Hill Road, exit 75. Lingering delays from Sigmund Road will start to clear up. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
If it's happening on the streets of Atlanta.
The Cobb County Medical Examiner's Office identifies 57 sets of cremains.
If it's happening on the roads leading to Atlanta.
Massive project at 285 and Georgia 400 has been a big improvement.
We've got it covered.
Atlanta jurors convict a former Customs and Border Protection officer.
Your 24/7 news source.
Covering the stories that impact you.
Tune in throughout the day to stay up to date.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Don't get fooled by window fiction. It's Ted and Jonathan from North Georgia Replacement Windows. Now they're calling it vinyl composite, but no matter how they say it, vinyl windows are still bulky, cheap, and plastic.
Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows are beautiful, not big and bulky like vinyl composite windows.
Experience the fiberglass difference at your home or in our new Alpharetta showroom. 0% interest available.
Infinity from Marvin Replacement Windows, yeah!
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Multiple contractors and estimates for your home projects? What a hassle. Instead, trust the Plus. Painting Plus.
Hi, I'm Charlie, owner of Painting Plus and the Plus family of businesses. We're reliable, fully licensed, and insured. No muss, no fuss. Trust the Plus and leave everything on your list to us.
If your home's exterior has it, the Plus can improve it. Painting Plus. Siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and more. Trust the Plus. PaintingPlus.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
All the information without the spin. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
This hour of the program is brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you are in the business of business and your business needs $250,000 or more to grow, you see opportunities that your current lender doesn't see, reach out to First Liberty and see if they can help you. The Frost family has been helping small businesses become big businesses since the early 90s. They're still there. They're still doing it. They're still committed. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. Spend 10 minutes with them. See if they can work with you, you with them. FirstLibertyGA.com. And by the way, as this show grows, I got to tell you, one, the Frost family and First Liberty Building Loan, they've been my original advertiser, and they're still with me. And two, it doesn't matter if your business is in Anchorage, Alaska, or Miami, Florida, or Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon. They can help you. FirstLibertyGA.com. Now, I got to play you this audio. I hit play too soon. Bill Weir is the environmentalist activist on CNN who pretends to be a journalist, and he's not. He's a hysterical activist who actually wrote a love letter to his son apologizing for his son being born because apparently he and his wife hooked up inside a lighthouse. She got pregnant, and because of climate change. Because of climate change, he's so sorry to bring a child into the world. This is Bill Weir.
Today, Lee Zeldin put out a video on X, and they were putting out press releases with such a flurry, about 31 different actions and rollbacks, that some of them had typos or placeholders at the top. We have one of those there. Trump EPA announces 000. You can see there. It's sort of shoot first, fill out the press release later.
Except it wasn't a typo, you idiot. It's 40 CFR Part 60 Subpart 0000. It's called the Quad O regulation of the Clean Air Act. Those aren't zeros, it's O's. You would think an environmental reporter would know this section of the Clean Air. It's actually a very important section. And yet this media fact check by Bill Weir, environmental activist, has no idea that he got it wrong. Neither does Caitlin Collins, who's interviewing him. CFR stands for Code of Federal Regulations, 40 CFR Part 60, Subpart Quad O. It is regularly referred to as the Quad O provision of the Clean Air Act. And the Quad O B/C reconsideration, that's subsection B and subsection C of the Quad O regulation. You would think a good environmental reporter would know that. But Bill Weir would rather shoot first, ask questions later. By the way, he's the guy who, when there were seagulls seen on the Potomac in 2009 during Obama's inauguration, despite it being cold, said even the seagulls were coming in from the sea to celebrate America turning the tide. Really, this guy, he's such a partisan hack. And CNN continues to try to claim he's some sort of objective environmental reporter. He doesn't even know the basics of the Clean Air Act and the Quad O regulation and wanted to claim Lee Zeldin made a typo. No, you made an idiot remark on CNN. When we come back, it's the economy, stupid. It still is, and there's some new data out there.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down again.
get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news is sponsored by Nelson Exteriors. New this hour, a 31-year-old youth pastor from Futures Church in Alpharetta has been arrested on sex charges. Police say Daniel Menelu used a popular messaging app to share and download more than a dozen sexually explicit videos involving children. He's been arrested in Roswell and charged with 6 felony counts of possession or controlling materials depicting minors in sexually explicit content. Your weather for today. A chance of showers and storms later on, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Afternoon highs around 72. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast straight ahead. Russian President Vladimir Putin saying today that Russia agrees in principle with the U.S. ceasefire proposal, but that the terms need to be worked out. He said before a ceasefire can take effect, Ukraine needs to determine whether they're going to lay down their weapons and surrender. Speaking today through an interpreter.
There are nuances. First of all, what are we going to do about this incursion in Kursk region? If we ceased hostilities for 30 days, what would that mean?
And Putin said Russia must speak directly with the U.S. about the ceasefire proposal, possibly directly with President Trump. President Trump's 25% tariff on aluminum cans is rocking the beer industry, which has increasingly moved from bottles to cans. Finding a domestic supplier, they say, is impossible.
There simply aren't enough smelters in the U.S. to actually create enough aluminum to meet demand.
That's Caroline Wallace with the Texas Craft Brewers Guild. She says that when there were similar tariffs in 2018, prices did rise, and it hit the smaller breweries the hardest. They can't buy in bulk to cut down on costs, she says. 2/3 of all craft beer now comes packaged in aluminum cans. While vehicles are considered much safer each year with more technology, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety is cutting its number of top safety picks from 71 last year to just 45 this year. Institute President David Harkey says they've made the testing tougher.
We're really emphasizing how to protect those occupants in the rear seats of vehicles.
Mazda has the most vehicles getting safety honors. He says that many minivans or pickup trucks did not make the cut this year. Money may not be the key to happiness, but it could help your health. A study out of Washington University in St. Louis finds the top 20% of high-income college-educated Americans have a smaller risk of heart disease. Low-income people without college degrees are 6 times more likely to suffer heart failure due to clogged arteries and 3 times more likely to suffer a stroke. The researchers say wealthier people have more access to health care and medicines, while low-income people suffer more stress due to their economic insecurity. Let's take a look at the markets. The Dow's down 469 at 40,881. So the Dow's down more than 1%. NASDAQ's down almost 2%, and the S&P's down more than a full percent. It's 102.
Termites have one job, to eat 24/7, and your home is directly in their path of destruction. Dave Baker here for Breda Pest Management. So when termites threaten the safety of your home, you want a complete barrier, not a bait station. Only Breda offers Termidor, a liquid barrier system providing total protection. And Breda knows how critical it is to protect the inside of your home, not just the outside from these eating machines. How are you supposed to know that your home is termite-free inside when your current termite company just walks around the outside of your house checking random bait stations? Breda is better at beating termites. Switch your termite protection to Breda now, and your rate is locked in for 10 years. Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters, like termites. Get started at BREDAPests.com.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
If you've been taught that all bread is unhealthy, I'm here to tell you not if it's real bread.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you're struggling with weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, even warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, come visit us at the Bread Becker store in Woodstock, where we have taught thousands of customers that real bread might be their healthy solution. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of real whole grains and bread. I discovered that store-bought bread has had most of the nutrients in the grain removed during milling, and yes, even packages labeled 100% whole wheat. Make a healthy eating change in your life at Bread Beckers in Woodstock. We'll show you how bread, but only real bread, might be the answer to your family's physical ills. The Bread Beckers. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Is painting the house on your project list? Make this the last time you paint with Rhino Shield, backed by a 25-year warranty.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Got a leaky pipe? Trouble with your AC? Ace Hardware Home Services is right around the corner with trusted pros to fix it. From plumbing to heating and cooling, we'll keep your home running smoothly all year long. Get help today at acehardwarehomeservices.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Here's Alex Williams.
Crash still in the right lane, 285 southbound, the outer loop right at I-85 down by the airport. You're slow leaving Camp Creek Parkway before you get there. Construction in the right lane, 285 south, the outer loop below Highway 166. And the crash cleared in Lithonia, I-20 westbound at Turner Hill Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Cloudy skies today with afternoon pop-up showers and thunderstorms, high 72. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers. Then the strong to severe thunderstorms arrive late Saturday night into Sunday morning, damaging wind gusts as well as a few tornadoes possible before 6 a.m. on Sunday.
More news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you with me. Text ENGAGE to 33777. If you're in the state of Georgia, you can tell your state senators to kill those speed cameras. Support the House legislation that is pending. There is a compromise afoot in Georgia. The lobbyists are throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at the Republicans with a compromise that would still have the exact same problems but give them cover claiming they're doing something. Don't let them do something. Tell them to kill the cameras. Text ENGAGE to 33777. Be involved, people. If not for you, love your neighbor. Your neighbors are getting screwed by these cameras. They're not even for school safety. They're just to pad the budgets of local governments. They're a scam. So text ENGAGE to 33777. I must talk to you about something. Some of you are going to want to talk about it, and it's very notable how this shapes up. I have a tendency to do the Calvin Coolidge rule. And my management philosophy is the Calvin Coolidge rule, and it rarely ever lets you down. In fact, I can't recall it letting me down. The Calvin Coolidge rule comes from President Calvin Coolidge, the greatest president the world has ever known. And Calvin Coolidge once said, when you see 10 troubles bounding down the road in your direction, if you stand still, 9 out of 10 of them will bound off the road before they get to you, leaving you the problem to deal with. Now, oftentimes, you and I, we decide we just don't want to look at the problem. We don't want to confront the problem. And we're seeing there's a problem out there right now. There are all sorts of warning signs that there is a problem. And it is best, I think, to pay attention to the problem instead of hiding from the problem or pretending the problem doesn't exist, because the left has done that for the last 4 years. And I think Republicans have an opportunity, particularly Donald Trump, has an opportunity to show great responsibility and leadership by telling the American public, for 4 years, the Biden administration propped up the American economy artificially. We are ending the artificial propping up the economy. And yes, there is going to be a dynamic change in the economy. And for a short time, it may get a little rocky as we fix the economy, because the economy right now is dependent on government largesse, and we need the economy dependent on the private sector. And be honest with people and tell them this, that this is what has happened. 25% of jobs created in the last 2 years were government-created jobs, not jobs in the private sector. Most of the money paid into the private sector was money coming from the public sector, and the result is that our national debt is now higher than it has ever been, and debt service for the first time in American history is more than what we spend on anything else in the budget, including defense, and we've got to change that. I am someone, for example, who supports robust foreign aid. Foreign aid is American soft power. We send money to countries who then are our allies instead of having to send troops to those countries, which is more expensive, and they do our bidding in the world. They monitor the world for us. Foreign aid is useful in that regard. But when our debt service is more than national defense, I have a hard time justifying a lot of what we're spending. I mean, in some countries, The Economist has the story out today that in some countries, our spending on healthcare in that country makes up more than what that country spends for everything else. It's wild. In some countries, we spend over 300% of the money in that country on healthcare compared to what that country itself spends. It's crazy. And by the way, I think it's money well spent if we can afford to do it. But when our debt service is more than our national defense budget, we're not where we were when we had a $20 trillion deficit. We're at $35 trillion and climbing. $20 trillion was too high then. We got to do something, but we got to confront the problems at home. And part of the confronting the problem at home is for this administration to not sugarcoat what seems to be happening, which is an economic slowdown. And the Democrats are rushing to blame the Republicans, and it's not the Republicans' fault. It's not Donald Trump's fault. He's been in office for what? Less than 2 full months. The problem is that the Biden administration artificially stimulated the economy and provoked inflation. And we're having to undo that artificial stimulation and provocation of inflation, and that's going to cause a little bit of a hiccup in the market. The warning signs are there, though. This from the Wall Street Journal. American consumers have had a lot to fret about so far this year, between never-ending tariff headlines, stubborn inflation, and more recently, fresh fears about a recession. These concerns seem to be hitting spending by both the rich and the poor across necessities and luxuries all at once. Take low-income consumers. At an interview at the Economic Club in Chicago late February, Walmart chief executive Doug McMillon said budget-pressured consumers are showing stressed behavior. They're buying smaller pack sizes at the end of the month because the money runs out before the month is gone. McDonald's said in most recent earnings call that the fast food industry had a sluggish start to the year, in part because of weak demand from low-income consumers. Across the U.S. fast food industry, sales to low-income guests were down by a double-digit percentage in the fourth quarter compared to a year earlier. Dollar General on its earnings call on Thursday said customers report only having enough for basic essentials. Some are having to sacrifice even on necessities. The company doesn't expect any improvement in the economic environment this year and is watching potential changes to government entitlement programs. Dollar stores rely most heavily on food stamp benefits, which could be on the table for budget cuts. This is also from the Wall Street Journal. By the way, all these links available today in the show notes. If you text DATA to 33777, get them for yourself. You don't have to have me interpret them for you. Americans are stopping for gas, but they aren't grabbing their usual snacks and smokes. The change in behavior is hurting U.S. sales of Doritos, Twinkies, Heath bars, and Newport cigarettes. U.S. convenience store sales volume fell by 4.3% as prices rose, and the year ended February 23rd, according to market research firm Circana. Among snacks purchased in those stores, rice cakes dropped most sharply. Well, thank God for that. Honestly, who eats rice cakes? Rice cake sales are down. That's good for America, probably. followed by such items as dips, nuts, and jerky. Refrigerated products dropped about 7% by sales volume, and chocolate candy fell by 6%. At a Circle K store in suburban Chicago, adult consumers with children in tow hurry out the door before they're talked into buying a snack, said sales representative David Garino. Shoppers are picking up fewer items in a range of categories, from ice cream to cigarillos, he said. A big bag of chips there now costs $7. People can't afford it. It's not a necessity. They're not as willing to splurge. Consumer sentiment is turning negative. At gas stations, many drivers aren't even going inside the store after they finish pumping, says Raymond LaGuardia, the chief executive at Pepsi. Some cigarette smokers, who typically buy a carton, are now grabbing a single pack instead. To entice convenience store shoppers, Pepsi is developing mini meals like Doritos loaded with warm nacho cheese sauce and other toppings. Smucker's is rolling out limited edition cherry-flavored Twinkies at 7-Eleven. That sounds disgusting. And Reynolds America is trying to reach price-sensitive smokers with more affordable Newport cigarettes. The downturn has weighed on Smucker's recently acquired Hostess brand. People don't want the Twinkies or the Ding Dongs, which used to be I guess now they're the King Dongs. They were the Ding Dongs, but the Ding Dong and the Twinkie, too many people made jokes and they changed it. I can't keep up. Dollar General, the CEO said on Thursday that inflation continues to hurt the customers that its stores and that macroeconomic environment hasn't improved. Our customers continue to report that their financial situation has worsened over the last year as they've been negatively impacted by ongoing inflation. Many of our customers report they only have enough money for basic essentials, with some noting that they've had to sacrifice even on the necessities. Now, I want to go in the Wayback Machine. I want to go back to November, when your host on this program told you that all of the pent-up issues about inflation would suddenly spring forth the moment Donald Trump was sworn into office. I said it the day after the election in November. I told you on this program that for 4 years, the media had been dismissive of the average concerns of the average American consumer. And when Donald Trump was officially sworn in, suddenly that all comes spilling out. Inflation was now suddenly a problem. Wasn't for 4 years, but it is now. And if you actually listen to the economic news from McDonald's and Pepsi and Circle K and from the Dollar General and from these other companies, what you're hearing is that inflation has continued to be a problem for the last year when Joe Biden was president, not Donald Trump. It's why Donald Trump should embrace this and say, folks, this is the effects of the Biden economy, but we're changing it. And yes, the change is going to be a little rocky, but he artificially propped up the economy. It caused inflation. We're undoing that. You're going to be fine. From Fortune, vacation plans are taking a dive. Research nonprofit, the Conference Board, tracks Americans who plan on taking vacation on a 6-month basis. In February, it was the lowest in 15 years, apart from the COVID-19 pandemic, which halted almost all travel. Apollo chief economist Torsten Slok blamed policy and economic uncertainty in a research note published Wednesday. Quote, the biggest downside risk is that policy uncertainty could create a sudden stop in the economy where consumers stop buying cars, stop going to restaurants, stop going on vacation, and companies stop hiring and stop doing CapEx, he wrote, referring to capital expenditures, basically the money companies spend to acquire, maintain, or improve long-term assets. The policy uncertainty he references lie with Donald Trump's tariffs and Elon Musk's Doge. There are associated costs associated with changing trade policy and changing the size of the government sector, and the immediate question for markets is how big the short-term pain will be. Tariffs are, I think, inarguably a bit of the problem for the president. Doge is not really part of the problem. Doge really is not that big of a deal if we're really honest about it. Reducing the size and scope of the federal government is actually a good thing. Reducing the size and scope of the federal government actually is a smart thing to do. Reducing the size and scope of the federal government will allow money back into the private sector. And I think that's something the president, because of his business background, can explain better than most, with most people giving him the benefit of the doubt because of his background. that every dollar spent on the government is a dollar not spent in the private sector. And by reducing the size of government, the money can be redirected into the private sector. And yes, right now we're in that awkward transition. There's some turbulence. There are some rapids as the money flows instead from the government to the private sector. It's causing some turbulence in the water, but it's going to be positive. Give it a chance. And the brilliance is that it's happening here now at the beginning of his term. He's got more than a year and a half before the midterms. If he can show the redirecting the money to the private sector from the public sector is actually going to be a good thing, people are going to buy in. If he explains honestly that Biden was artificially propping up the economy and blowing out the debt and the deficit, and we're going to rein that in so the private sector can grow, we're going to deregulate, it's a good thing. The EPA announcing the biggest deregulatory effort from the EPA ever, that's going to stimulate the economy. It's going to have a deeply stimulative effect, but there's no reason to stick your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. There's no reason to try to say this isn't real. It is real. The data shows it's real, and it's Joe Biden's problem, not Donald Trump's problem, but Trump is there now, and Republicans are pretending we can't make eye contact with it. La, 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 la. No. Make eye contact with it. Point out what Joe Biden did. Point out the sabotage to the economy by Joe Biden. Listen, Americans rejected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because of the economy. You still have a runway onto which you can blame the Democrats for the current predicament, for the current circumstances. And the media covered up for them for 4 years, and now the media thinks these things are a problem. Throw it all in their face. The cover-up of the media until now. All of these companies that have come out, all of the statements I've read have pointed out this problem has existed for over a year. When the media told you everything was fine, and it was not true, it is not true, and it's time for the Trump administration to just come out with the American people and say, listen, we're reducing the size and scope of the federal government because every dollar spent there is not a dollar spent on your salary. It's not a dollar spent investing in your company. It's not a dollar spent buying stock. It's a dollar spent growing government. We're going to stop that so the money flows to the private sector and makes the American private sector economy the strongest in the world. You do that, Americans are going to buy in and believe it because it's true. It's the truth. Trump can sell it better than anyone else.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
121 Coolray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. That crash down near the airport, 285 southbound. The outer loop at I-85 has been pushed off to the right. Still a few brake lights from Camp Creek Parkway, but improving, and you'll also come through a work zone approaching. That crash off to the right, 285 southbound. The outer loop below Highway 166, they're working in the right lane. 85 north and southbound, a little sluggish through Gwinnett County into DeKalb between 285 and Indian Trail. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Experience the flavors of Latin America event at Whole Foods Market with deals on vibrant ingredients and zesty creations store-wide. Save on no antibiotics ever meat, fresh avocados, and more through March 25th. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The news of the day through the eyes of Eric Von Hessler.
It should go without saying that I abhor violence.
If it's on your mind, it's on his.
I just don't feel like other people that I don't know need to know how I feel about things.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Signs of a wet basement, condensation, wet floors and walls, musty smells, mold, rot. Got them? Then you need to call AquaGuard Foundation Solutions. They'll create a plan to keep your basement dry. Visit aquaguard.net and set up a free inspection today.
AquaGuard. The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
When your air conditioner or furnace breaks down, the last thing you need is more surprises. That's why at Jape Services, you'll always get a free estimate with honest, upfront pricing. Hi, this is Daniel Jape, and we've helped thousands of your friends and neighbors with their heating and cooling needs, and our reputation depends on offering the best solution. Whether you need maintenance, repairs, or a new system, call the company you can trust, Jape Services.
Count on us, Jape Services.
Is painting the house on your project list? Make this the last time you paint with Rhino Shield, backed by a 25-year warranty.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects, now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Join Eric's Army of Activists. Text ARMY to 33777 now.
Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, those of you on the phones, be patient. I'm going to come to you, but this is a short segment here, and I don't want to have to rush you off the phones. I do have to say, Ron Swanson is about to have his moment. If you don't know who Ron Swanson is, he's a fictional character from Parks and Rec. He was a noted libertarian. There's actually there's an episode where there's a government shutdown, and Ron Swanson looks like he is in a state of ecstasy as they begin to explain how the government is going to be shut down and people are going to have to be laid off and budgets are going to have to be cut. And the man looks, I mean, just like it's the greatest pleasure he's ever experienced in his life. There's one episode where he explains to a girl how the government is bad by eating her sandwich. And she writes a school report, and the question is, why is the government important? And her response is, her entire essay is, it's not. Russ Vought is the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and he's about to be in charge. The Congressional Research Service notes that the director of the Office of Management and Budget directs a government shutdown. Who is laid off and who is not, how the government functions, which positions are allowed to be open, and what changes must be made. And Russ is going to be in charge of it, my dear friend Russ Vought. This is like putting Ron Swanson in charge of the United States government, and it is marvelous to behold. I want to take your phone calls on the other side of the break, but also we got to spend a few moments on Magic Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who was able to structure a heads Republicans win, tails Democrats lose government shutdown plan. The Democrats are falling for the trap. I mean, the Republicans are Brer Rabbit in this scenario. We've been telling the Democrats, please don't throw us in the briar patch. Please don't throw us in the briar patch. And Chuck Schumer last night came into the floor of the well of the Senate, and he says, we are not going to go along with this. We're going to shut down the government. God bless him. Now, God bless Old Glory Bank. They've been standing for conservatives since they got started 2 years ago. They're a bank by conservatives for conservatives. I am a customer of theirs now for 2 years, and I love them. They're a great bank. They can be your bank. You go to oldglorybank.com. oldglorybank.com. If you're a business, if you're a conservative business and you're worried about the debanking trends out there, Old Glory Bank is your bank. Listen, I sent multiple gun stores to them. They're all having a great experience, even with business loans. Old Glory has treated them as if they're a local bank. It's phenomenal customer service at Old Glory Bank, and they're just good people. Car loans, home loans, HELOCs, lines of credit, CDs, savings accounts, checking accounts. They do it all. They're a real bank. They can be your bank. They're my bank. They can be your bank, too. Fill out your form at oldglorybank.com. You can do it all online. oldglorybank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. And yes, Old Glory Bank really is my bank. They can be yours, too.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. Roswell police have arrested a youth pastor on child sex charges. Police say 31-year-old Daniel Menelo was downloading and sharing sexually explicit video of children on an app. He's charged with 6 felony counts of possessing or controlling materials depicting minors in sexually explicit content. Your weather for today. We could have a few showers or storms later on this afternoon or evening, but WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards says the real threat's going to be this weekend.
Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers, then watching a line of thunderstorms as they move in from Alabama to the state of Georgia.
And she says the timeline's going to be from 10 p.m. Saturday through 6 a.m. Sunday. Be sure and stay with us and download the WSB radio app for weather alerts. Hoping to get more tips from the public, Crime Stoppers of Atlanta is upping the cash reward that it offers from $2,000 to $5,000. Crime Stoppers operating as a fully anonymous tip line. Sergeant Travis Williams, director of Crime Stoppers of Greater Atlanta, says by increasing the standard reward, they are sending a clear message about the power of information and making the streets safer in the city of Atlanta. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of probationary workers let go at a mass firing across multiple agencies. The judge today has found that the firings did not follow federal law and required immediate offers of reinstatement be sent out. The agencies include the Department of Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Defense, Energy, the Interior, and Treasury departments. The order from the San Francisco-based judge came in a lawsuit filed by a coalition of labor unions and organizations as the Republican administration moves to dramatically downsize the federal workforce. It's 1:32.
Termites could be eating your home right now, and you never know. Christina Edwards here for Breda Pest Management. When was the last time you actually saw your service inspect for termite damage? Let me guess, they just walked around the outside and checked the bait stations. Better get Breda. They use advanced infrared cameras and microwave technology for early detection. Switch to Breda, and your termite rate is locked in for 10 years.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dramatically improve the look of your home and make your neighbors say wow with a new garage door. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. Replace that ugly, outdated garage door with a beautiful, modern, energy-efficient door that will add to your home's value and curb appeal. At All Four Seasons, we offer fast service, affordable prices, and a huge selection of styles, colors, and custom features. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 seasonsgarages.com.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
There's a hidden tax costing hardworking Georgians over $5,000 every year. Governor Kemp's tort reform legislation will end this tax and lower costs for families. It will also protect victims. Listen to Governor Kemp.
The bill that I will sign is not going to keep anyone in this state from receiving the justice that they deserve.
Ensuring our justice system is fair and accessible and lowering costs for us. Tell Georgia's lawmakers, stand with Governor Kemp and pass tort reform. Paid for by Protecting American Consumers Together.
If you're approaching or in retirement, listen closely. The stock market has been volatile. Are you tired of seeing your retirement account nosedive? With so much going on in the world, how can you be confident that your retirement is safe? Let me show you how. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Retirement is meant to be enjoyed, but it's hard when you're not sure that your nest egg is safe. At Mitch Lyons Wealth, we wrote the book on protecting your retirement. It's called Retirement of Steel, and each of our clients enjoys a retirement of steel that can weather any storm. If you're not 100% sure that your retirement account is safe, contact us today for a complimentary review. Let's see if the strategies that we're using to help people retire confidently can work for you. I think you'd agree 40 years of working hard and saving for retirement is worth this call. Call 888-471-3896, 888-471-3896, again 888-471-3896. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Alex Williams joining us now with a look at the roads.
Seeing some brake lights starting to form through Midtown and downtown Sabrina. 85 southbound starting to slow right at the merge with Georgia 400. Gets even heavier 75, 85 southbound from 17th Street, trying to get down to North Avenue. If you're traveling into DeKalb County, left lane roadwork 20 eastbound between Wesley Chapel and Panola Road, and right lane roadwork 285 southbound the outer loop Highway 166 Langford Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Cloudy skies today, high 72. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening hours. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, a few rain showers in the morning. Then the line of strong to severe thunderstorms arrive between 10 p.m. on Saturday through 6 a.m. on Sunday. Damaging wind gusts and a few tornadoes possible early Sunday morning.
More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, even when it isn't popular. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. If you text the word DATA, D-A-T-A, to 33777, I'm going to send you a link back. You can subscribe to the show notes. You get the show notes as the show goes live. We send it to your inbox, and all the links to all the stories I'm talking about and all the stuff I don't have time to get to is there. So you never have to call and say, hey, that story you talked about, where do I get the link? It's there in that email. So text DATA to 33777. We're going to go to the phones now. I'm going to begin with Kurt in Dayton, Ohio. Welcome to the show, Kurt. How are you?
Good, Eric. We woke up. How are you?
Great.
Good. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, so I listen to you guys, and I mean you guys on the conservative side, talk show hosts. And a lot of times what drives me nuts, and I'm just using generalities here, not that you do it all the time because I think we see things the same way. But when you come across on the radio saying, oh, these people, it's like they're being stupid or they didn't expect this outcome. I think it's all an agenda. If they get away with it, great. More power to their agenda. Or if they have lined up the legacy media to be their talking head and continue on that narrative so the Americans are drinking the Kool-Aid, those that will go along with it, and what they did to fix the elections, it's just more power to them. I don't think these are stupid individuals. These are very smart, calculating, and the ones that are not, they're just going along with the program.
Well, okay, so Kurt, listen, I understand what you're saying, and you're right. They are smart people, but let's put this in perspective, though, for how these smart people have played their hand. 4 years ago, to stop Donald Trump, the polling suggested there was only one person in America on the Democratic Party side who could stop Donald Trump, and they gave him the Democratic Party nomination. And he said at the time he intended to be just a one-term man. And then he got into office, got dementia, and decided to run for a second term. He told the Democrats, who are so into intersectional race ideology, that he needed a black woman to be his running mate. And who did he put? Kamala Harris, a woman who accused him of racism on a debate stage, earning the perpetual ire of the man's wife. And the wife began to systemically undermine the vice president the moment she took office. along with the gay dude who became transportation secretary because he loves trains and is gay, and that's the whole reason he got the job, who also wanted to be her political rival. And so he started leaking stories about the vice presidential nominee, roughing her up, exposing what a dimwit she is, a walking word salad who makes no sense. And then she started opening her mouth, and every time she opened her mouth, people realized, oh my God, what have we done? And so they couldn't get rid of the dementia patient. The smartest people in the room, they're so smart they want you to know they're smart. They put a dementia patient in the White House and couldn't figure out how to get him out of it until he got on a debate stage and flubbed so bad, and still they couldn't get him out of office. They had to convince his son and his wife to push him out. And to replace him, the dim-witted walking word salad replaced him. These brilliant people who are smart, I don't disagree with you, Kurt, at all. They're that smart. That's the hand they played. And so now, where are we? They have a Christian evangelical true believer as Speaker of the House of Representatives, and they thought, my God, we can play this guy. I mean, this guy believes that like there was an original man and woman, and like there was a dude named Noah on a boat. This guy's clearly a moron. We can play this guy. His own side doesn't really like him. And so they held out hope that they could play Mike Johnson, who dazzled everyone as Magic Mike Johnson. Stood up there in the dais of the House of Representatives, passed a spinning package and sent the whole House home. Told the Senate Democrats, I dare you to shut down the government, because if you shut down the government, Russ Vought is going to be in charge of the government, and you hate Russ Vought more than you hate Donald Trump, and Russ Vought's going to be in charge. So here's what you're going to do. You're either going to fund mass deportations and Elon Musk's Doge, or you're going to empower Russ Vought. Pick. And the smartest people on planet Earth, the Democratic Party of the United States, the proverbial Karens of America, realized that if they don't shut down the government, they're going to have a fight with the progressive left, who has insisted the Democrats aren't fighting hard enough. And if they do shut down the government, they're going to empower Russ Vought. So, Kurt, you're absolutely right. These are smart people. They play the media. They use the media. The media amplifies their message. And they walked right into Magic Mike Johnson's trap because of their arrogance. Mike Johnson took their know-it-all arrogance and turned it against them. He boxed them in. The humble man from Shreveport, Louisiana, who they thought was a hick and a rube because he believes in Jesus Christ, that they could run circles around him. And he's boxed them in brilliantly. They will either now fund Elon Musk or they will empower Russ Vought. It is their choice. And they've chosen to empower Russ Vought because they don't think the Republicans are really going to want to keep the government shut down for long, and the Republicans will come back and negotiate with them. And meanwhile, Russ Vought will be in charge of shutting down the government, laying people off, shutting down entire agencies of the federal government. It really is. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Brer Rabbit, sadly, somewhere locked in a vault at Disney is the Song of the South, which they've deemed too problematic to show. Brer Rabbit lived in the Briar Patch, was caught by the fox, got mad at Brer Rabbit, was going to punish him, and Brer Rabbit says, please don't throw me in that Briar Patch. Please don't throw me in that Briar Patch. I don't believe I could survive the Briar Patch. They threw Brer Rabbit in the Briar Patch, which is exactly where he wanted to go. Mike Johnson is a Russ Vought fan. Mike Johnson wants to reduce the size and scope of the federal government. So Mike Johnson has structured a plan where the Democrats themselves are the ones who have to give Mike Johnson Russ Vought. And if they don't want to give him Russ Vought, they have to give him funding for mass deportations and the Doge staff to continue cutting the government. There are no good choices for the Democratic Party in this. It's actually really, really funny to watch. This is the headline at the Politico today. They're totally screwed. White House taunts Democrats on shutdown. Senate Democrats haven't even surrendered yet on a government shutdown, but already White House officials are gloating. Chuck Schumer threw down the gauntlet Wednesday, proclaiming the Republicans don't have the 60 votes needed to keep the government open past Friday, but President Trump and senior White House officials are increasingly confident Schumer will release enough centrists to put up the votes for passage. According to multiple White House officials, they're 100% going to swallow it. They're totally screwed, said one White House official. By the way, I know who this source is. The confidence is especially noteworthy given that Schumer has yet to detail his plans. In some ways, the administration looks like it's itching for a shutdown. Last month, OMB Director Russ Vought notably gave agencies until Thursday to submit plans for large-scale reductions in force. The details could spill out hours before a shutdown and would almost certainly agitate the Democratic base even further. What's more, Republicans felt confident enough to pass the so-called CR with a few provisions favorable to them. Those include increasing spending for defense and deportations while making small cuts elsewhere and handcuffing Democrats' abilities to force votes on Trump's controversial tariff policies. The White House's posture smacks of overconfidence bordering on arrogance. That's usually where the Democrats find themselves. Not this time. My goodness gracious, this is going to be fun. Eddie, you're up next. Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show, Eddie.
Hey, Eric. How's everything going?
Great. What's going on?
Well, talking back in recent presidential history, you've got a situation, seems like, where every time a Republican leaves office and a Democrat comes in, they try to hang something on them or, the economy or whatever. Going back to George W. Bush, he tried to make home more affordable for everybody, realized that it wouldn't work, and Obama, knowing that he could blame it on George Bush, basically tanked the housing market and, blame it on Bush. Mm-hmm. Bringing it up to today, I think when Trump left office, that Biden thought that he could blame everything on him, not in any way, knowing that Trump would come back and everything would come back to bite Biden.
Right. I absolutely think that we've got to do this. I mean, Biden is so unpopular. Trump is at 50% popularity minimum. Biden left office at like 38% popularity. Blame him for this. I mean, people are going to believe it because the Democrats and the media lied for so long. So now, Eddie, by the way, we still got to get cigars at some point.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to make that happen. Thanks for calling in, Eddie. Yes, I will have cigars with my listeners, but they got to be good ones. No Cinco Vegas, please. I've never had one of those. I have a buddy of mine who says they're terrible. I don't know, but I smoke good cigars. Lindsay, you're going to be up next. Welcome. How are you?
Hey, everything, I'm doing great. I have got a fabulous example of what you were talking about earlier about when giving the money back to the middle class. I am a retired educator on Social Security. Not only have my offset, I was a victim of that nasty penalty offset. Not only has the Social Security deposited that in my direct account, they have just sent me a letter today explaining to me how my Social Security is going to go up monthly, including the offset every month and the cost of living. So I just have something positive to say about Social Security. I don't know why everybody is talking about they're doing away with Social Security.
Well, the problem, I think, is just because there are so many IOUs of Social Security. Literally in the last break, Kobe, my board op, and I were both talking about it. Is Social Security going to be around for him? I don't know that it is. It's great for those who can get it, but I mean, when you're under 30 and paying into Social Security and it's on the verge of bankruptcy, something's going to happen. Lindsay, so here's the problem with Social Security. That is that in George Bush in 2005, after he got reelected, he proposed changing Social Security at the time for people under 40 at the time, who would now be hitting retirement. And their money would be rolled over into 401ks, would be invested in a 60-40 stock bond split, and as they got closer to 60, that investment would shift over time. So by the time they got 65, it would be 60 bonds, 40 stocks, which is what financial advisors advise. And if you run the numbers on that just based on investment in the S&P 500 rolling over to U.S. Treasuries by the time you're 60, every single person retiring right now in this country who was at the time eligible for that conversion, they'd all be millionaires, multimillionaires. They'd have so much money in retirement. And we rejected Bush to preserve the status quo, and people are not able to live. You'd literally be able to live on just your Social Security had they done what George Bush wanted. But as Lindsay, as you yourself said, you don't live on just Social Security. Other things you wouldn't have to with the Bush plan. And it was all privatizing Social Security, guaranteeing it and privatizing it. And nobody wanted to listen to him, except for groups like Americans for Prosperity that were willing to embrace common sense conservative reforms to things like Social Security and now the tax cuts that President Trump wants to do. If you go to protectprosperity.com, you can sign up with Americans for Prosperity and stay informed about the state of play on the president's tax cuts, find out what actually works, what doesn't, how you can get involved to get Congress to pursue common sense conservative solutions. It's americansforprosperity.org or protectprosperity.com. If you go to protectprosperity.com, there's an action button. Click the action button, and you'll be able to sign up as an activist. You'll be able to contact your member of Congress. You'll be able to get the latest and greatest information on the state of play for tax cuts, and you can educate your neighbors. You can educate local officials as well. You can get on board at americansforprosperity.org or go to protectprosperity.com. Be a better conservative activist. Support common sense conservative solutions for families and for free markets across the nation. It's protectprosperity.com or americansforprosperity.org. I'm on the board. We'd love to have you involved. americansforprosperity.org or protectprosperity.com. Sign up today.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
150 Cool Day Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Slow into cab. I think they're clearing the left lane construction, 20 eastbound between Wesley Chapel and Panola Road. Also really filling up through downtown already from the 85-400 merge as you head southbound to North Avenue. And right lane construction still there, 285 southbound, the outer loop past Highway 166, Langford Parkway. Traffic brought to you by PureTalk.com. It's time to ditch big wireless. Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month on their 5G network. Dial pound 250 and say keyword switch now to save 50% off your first month. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When the weather is at its worst, it's an overnight early Sunday morning situation with damaging wind gusts and, yes, even tornadoes in the forecast.
We're at our best.
Christina will be on duty live in the Storm Center overnight Saturday.
Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store.
The severe weather knocking down trees and causing damage and power outages across the metro.
With your severe weather station, 95.5 WSB.
Hey folks, it's Eric Erickson here. Well, it's Trump 2.0 now, and things are changing quickly. Every day, changes to taxes, tariffs, foreign policy, moving at a pace we haven't seen in a very long time, definitely not in the last 4 years. What about your retirement plan? Many of you know about the Magnificent Seven stocks like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They've been behind a lot of the market's recent growth. I saw my buddy David Nicholas on Stuart Varney's show the other day. David is my wife's and my financial advisor, and he was talking about what he calls the MAGA 7 stocks and sectors he thinks are going to have the most opportunity in this new Trump administration era. Well, you know, David gave my wife and me a complimentary Morningstar analysis. It's $1,000 value, but right now my listeners can get it complimentary. He's going to give you guys what he gave my wife and me. If you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, call Nicholas Wealth Management. Get this unbelievably valuable analysis for free. David and his team will review it with you, give you some total clarity, and get you ready for your nest egg in this new era. So if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, please go to nicholaswealth.com. That's NICHOLAS wealth.com. Or call 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
Time to paint the house again? Are you tired of shelling out all that money every 5 years?
Hey, it's Jeff and Roxanne, proud and local owners of Rhino Shield.
Rhino Shield's exterior coating will that'll last you 25 years, improve your home's curb appeal, and is backed by a 25-year warranty.
So delete your painter from your contact list for good. Get a free estimate at RhinoShieldGA.com.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
If you've been taught that all bread is unhealthy, I'm here to tell you not if it's real bread. Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you're struggling with weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, even warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, come visit us at the Bread Becker store in Woodstock, where we have taught thousands of customers that real bread might be their healthy solution. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of real whole grains and bread. I discovered that store-bought bread has had most of the nutrients in the grain removed during milling, and yes, even packages labeled 100% whole wheat. Make a healthy eating change in your life at Bread Beckers in Woodstock. We'll show you how bread, but only real bread, might be the answer to your family's physical ills. The Bread Beckers. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's
Taking
News
the complicated
and Talk.
and making it simple. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, I would love to have you. We got another fun-filled hour when we come back. But first, before I get to any more headlines, Bill's waiting patiently. Bill, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Eric. So I've been hearing you talk about this Russ Vought character, and honestly, before you mentioned him, I never.
You broke up on me.
And why I probably love him. I'm sorry.
No,
Can you tell me more about Russ Vought?
Yes. So, Bill, Russ is actually a longtime friend of mine. We've known each other since probably 2004 when Red State was getting started. When I was the editor there, he's a dear friend of mine, great prayer warrior for my family. So Russ was the executive director of the Republican Study Committee when Mike Pence was in charge. Worked for Mike Pence for a number of years. He left to run Heritage Action back when Jim DeMint was at Heritage Action. And then stepped into the original Trump administration to be the deputy director of Office of Management and Budget when Mick Mulvaney was in charge of it. When Mick left to become the White House chief of staff, they put Russ in charge of it. Russ believes the government is too big, and he believes that the presidency has become so powerful that the presidency's powers can be used to reduce the size and scope of the federal government where Congress won't act, and in such a way that as the size and scope of the federal government is reduced, those powers that have been granted to the president reduce themselves. So it's a way to defang Washington, D.C., essentially. Russ has been on the outside for the last couple of years running a think tank called the Center for American Renewal that essentially advocates for people of faith to get involved in government, to transform government in a way that is good for the traditional values of America and for the heartland, and has been deeply engaged in coming up with plans. And by the way, he's a co-author of Project 2025 or a contributor to it, on how to...
Oh, even better. That's got to drive him crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. So Russ wrote the sections of Project 2025 on reducing the power of the federal government. And Russ's worldview is Christian, evangelical, and also that if you hand the power back to the states are not going to give that power back to Washington, D.C. So and part of the issue is the way government works is if you go in and you take a sledgehammer and you level parts of the government that have gotten out of control, when the Democrats come back to power, they can't just refill those positions because they'll be so smashed to bits it's going to take time. So you come in with the bulldozer, you clear it all out, and it's going to take the Democrats a lot of time to try to rebuild it. It's a brilliant idea. And when you do a government shutdown, the director of the Office of Management and Budget is in charge of overseeing the shutdown, is in charge of winding down the government, is in charge of shutting it all down. The Democrats are about to empower the biggest enemy of government to exist in Washington, D.C. He is an ideological crusader who hates government. He's in charge of the Office of Management and Budget, and the progressive Democrats are about to make him in charge of overseeing all of this. The Democrats have fallen for the trap. There is no finer person to be in charge of a government shutdown than a man who hates the government to begin with and wishes to make it so small you can drown it in a bathtub. That is Russ Vought, and he's about to get his long-held wish of making this happen thanks to Chuck Schumer.
You need to replace all your windows, but some can't wait.
Start small with a single window or one room, and your window price will be locked in. Hi, it's Ted and Jonathan from North Georgia Replacement Windows.
Our fiberglass windows are beautiful, not big and bulky like vinyl composite windows.
Your detailed window and door installation will be quick, clean, and hassle-free.
Window shopping made simple with 0% interest available.
Infinity from Marvin, replacement windows, yeah!
Are you facing a fork in the road and deciding between continuing your career and retirement? I'm Wes Moss, host of Money Matters, and this massive life decision shouldn't be taken lightly. Talk with my team if you'd like help reviewing your retirement accounts and building a financial plan. We can help you review options and offer an opinion based on your best interests. You can find us at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. It's new information this hour about the arrest of a Metro youth pastor accused of having child pornography. WSB Steve Summers reports live what police are now saying.
Yeah, Bill, it was a tip that led Roswell police to the home of Futures Church youth pastor Daniel Menelau. Police officer Tim Lupo says several of the 28-year-old's devices were seized and already videos of children being sexually abused have been found.
There has been some activity that has already taken place with possession of some of these materials across different devices.
And Lupo says there could be much more. They're looking into that now forensically. Lupo says Menelau used the messaging app Kik to share and download those videos. He's jailed at this hour on $120,000 bond. Reporting live, Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
71 degrees in Atlanta. We are watching for the threat of severe weather this weekend.
The timeline for this line of storms would be 10 p.m. Saturday through 6 a.m. Sunday.
Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. Hoping to get more tips from the Public Crime Stoppers of Atlanta is upping the cash reward it offers from $2,000 to $5,000.
First time it's been done in its history, which has been about 20 years. So it's very important.
Sergeant Travis Williams, Director of Crime Stoppers of Greater Atlanta, says by increasing the standard reward, we are sending a clear message about the power of information and making our streets safer. Crime Stoppers operates as a fully anonymous tip line. It's been a rough week for 401ks as falling stocks take a bite out of the accounts of many investors in Georgia. But Kennesaw State University economics professor Roger Tutterow says it shouldn't be a major cause for concern.
These markets tend to be volatile, and certainly we're coming off some very high valuation levels. But if you look back over the last 12 months, I mean, the S&P 500 is still now up well over 7%.
He says focus on the long term, not the immediate impacts. At this hour on Wall Street, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ are all sharply lower for the day. Recently enacted tariffs on aluminum and steel imports could have a major impact on Georgia breweries. Joseph Cortez with the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild says those materials are vital for items crucial to the industry.
Aluminum cans and steel that is important for kegs and brewing equipment.
He says he knows of several businesses that have purchased cans in bulk to get ahead of the tariffs. Even though there's been a drop in available jobs in Georgia, the state's unemployment rate is holding steady at 3.6%. in January. It is 2:02. This news is sponsored by Bread Beckers.
There aren't many things more precious than your engagement ring. The start of your love story, a symbol of your commitment that you get to treasure every day. Have you ever thought about breathing new life into that ring? At D. Geller & Sons Spring Bridal event, we're bringing the most exclusive names in engagement and wedding ring design to you with their full assortments. Come to D. Geller & Son for the ultimate ring shopping experience next weekend, March 21st through 23rd in Kennesaw and Sandy Springs. RSVP online at dgeller.com.
Your family is so ready to celebrate spring. Get outdoors, relax, and spend quality time together. Do it in your own backyard in a Bullfrog hot tub from Brown's Pools and Spas. Only Bullfrog offers the Jetpack Therapy system, allowing you to customize each seat to fit every body in your family. Right now through the 24th, Brown's is offering a free luxury package upgrade on select models or instant rebates up to $1,000. Celebrating 50 years of Brown's Pools and Spas. BrownsPools.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
At Coosa Valley Credit Union, we're committed to saving our members money by offering the most competitive interest rates in the market. Now, auto loan rates are as low as 4.49 APR. But if you open an account with a direct deposit, we'll knock your rate down a whole %, as low as 3.49 APR. This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union. Save money on your auto loan and experience kinder banking at a branch near you.
Contact 706-235-8551 for more details. Equal Opportunity Lender.
It is 2:05, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather in the 24-hour traffic center. Alex Williams.
Hey, good afternoon, Bill. Watching some volume pick up out of DeKalb into Gwinnett County via I-85 northbound from 285 as you head up to Indian Trail Road, exit 101. Downtown, you're slow southbound from the 85-400 merge as you make your way through Midtown and downtown. And right lane construction continues on the west side outer loop, 285 southbound, the outer loop, Highway 166, Langford Parkway. That takes out a right lane. Construction clearing DeKalb from the left lane, 20 east past Wesley Chapel Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Cloudy skies today with afternoon pop-up showers and thunderstorms, high 72. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers. Then the strong to severe thunderstorms arrive late Saturday night into Sunday morning, damaging wind gusts as well as a few tornadoes possible before 6 a.m. on Sunday.
72 degrees in Midtown Atlanta. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
My fellow Americans, it is Eric Erickson here, and I am delighted to have you. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, you are more than welcome to. If you are in the state of Georgia, your legislature is leaving in a few days, so you've got to text ENGAGE to 33777 now. Put in your cell phone, call your state senator, tell him to kill the speed cameras at schools. Otherwise, you're not going to get a chance. Those people have given over $150,000 to the Senate Republicans to try to stand with the corporations, not the people. It is the poor and the middle class who are getting most affected by these cameras. If you're wealthy, you can get out of them. It's unfair. You're deprived due process. You can't even confront your witnesses in court. It's stacked against you. A local sheriff says it's unconstitutional. You should take a stand for the working class. It's a perfect populist issue for the Republicans in the Georgia legislature. Text ENGAGE to 33777. Speaking of populist issues, I must talk about the federal judges. I have friends who are federal judges. You would all like them. But then there are those federal judges appointed by the Democrats. And one of them has put a pause on all workers. A federal judge on Thursday, according to left-wing Axios, ordered 6 government agencies to offer fired probationary employees their jobs back. At least 30,000 probationary workers have been fired in DOJ's sweeping remaking of the government. A few federal agencies have called their people back, but most are still not working. The order is effective immediately, according to William Alsup, a Clinton appointee, who, of course, is in the Northern District of California. Alsup said the Office of Personnel Management's order and the firing process was basically a sham, noting the same probationary workers have been told that they were fired based on their performance. It's a sad, sad day. He said our government would fire some good employee and say it was based on performance when they know good and well that's a lie. There are multifaceted issues here. For those of you who are new to the program, in a distant life, in a foreign world, your host was a lawyer. Not only was your host a lawyer, may God forgive me, constitutional law no less. Did corporations, I did elections, did constitutional law. My highest grade in law school, my next door neighbor now, is my former con law professor. I love con law. And one of the things that comes up over and over and over again in constitutional law is 2 things. 1, there are questions about the powers of district court judges, and 2, there are things that are constitutional if done one way, that are unconstitutional if done another way. It's all about the process. So, for example, there is a necessary and proper clause. Article 1, Section 8, the last clause of Article 1, Section 8. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress its power. As is historically understood by the Federalist Papers, by even the Supreme Court, the United States Congress in Washington, D.C., the federal government, is a government of limited power. Now, progressives believe the Constitution lives, it breathes, it has a pulse. It's not true. It's a piece of paper. You can go see the original piece of paper on which it's written in Washington, D.C., and if you get very, very quiet, if you tell everyone in the room at the National Archives, shut up, be quiet, turn your phone off, everybody be quiet, and you listen, do you know what you will hear? Not a damn thing, because it's not living and breathing. There is no heartbeat in the Constitution. It's a piece of paper. It's dead. It's on a piece of dead wood. It is not living. It is not breathing. And we are a nation of limited powers. You know who has all the power? The states. They use a fancy word called plenary power. The states are plenary powers. You know why? Because the states are semi-sovereign nations, all of them, including the ones that were developed because the federal government conquered the territory and took it from the Indians. The states have power. The federal government has limited power. The healthcare power, that's a state power. The education power, that's a state power. The police power, that's a state power. The only powers that Washington has are the powers ceded by the states to be able to enact a national government. It's a limited power, the federal government. Article 1, Section 8, all those powers are there. The states are prohibited from certain things. Article 1, Section 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, they break those things down. But by and large, it is the federal government that's a government of limited powers. One of those powers is the necessary and proper clause. It is the last clause in Article 1, Section 8. And progressives for years have interpreted it as anything that's necessary and proper for the United States to do, that's what that clause means. And the Supreme Court, even the liberals on the Supreme Court have said that's not true. That clause means you got to have one of the preceding clauses. Like, for example, Congress has the power to regulate bankruptcies. So if there's something that's necessary and proper to regulate bankruptcies, Congress can that power flows through. But the necessary and proper clause doesn't stand by itself. It's connected to each of those other itemized things. The power to regulate interstate commerce, that's the most expansive power Congress has, other than the power to declare war. And once Congress declares war, you know what happens? The president gets powerful. It's not hard to understand. But here's the point. There's a process and there's a procedure. This goes back to the first Trump administration. John Roberts is a man of practical procedure. You may not like John Roberts, but here's what you have to know about John Roberts in order to get John Roberts to agree with you. If you follow the proper procedure under existing law and the Constitution, you can do what you want to do. Just follow the procedure. Twice, Donald Trump tried to do things in his first term. He tried to do a ban on Muslims coming into the country. And John Roberts told Donald Trump, you did it wrong. You have the power to do it, but you followed the wrong procedure. Go follow the right procedure and you can do it. And guess what? Donald Trump did, and John Roberts said, this is perfectly okay. Went back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, everything's fine. Second time, Donald Trump tried to get a question about citizenship put in the U.S. Census for 2020. They rushed it through. They didn't follow the proper procedure to get a question in the census. And John Roberts said, it is perfectly permissible for you to do this, but you did not follow the proper procedure. And now you've run out the clock, so you can't do it. Start thinking about it for 2030. Follow the proper procedure. And that is the point that this judge, a liberal judge in San Francisco, is relying on. That they can fire these probationary employees. But you can't release a public statement and say we're firing all probationary employees and then tell the probationary employee you're being fired because of your performance. Those two statements are in contradiction to each other. You can't go out and say all probationary employees are being fired because we're trying to reduce the size of the federal government, but then tell the probationary employees you're being fired because of your performance. You got to find a way to make it consistent. And that's what the judge is doing. Except this judge is doing something else too. And this is something that's raising the hackles of the conservatives on the court, including Amy Coney Barrett. She's very upset this is happening. You have a judge in San Francisco. The way our Constitution is structured, every state is divided into districts. You have district courts. Those district courts all are part of a circuit. There are, I think, 13 circuits in the country, plus the District of Columbia. And a district court appeals to their circuit, and then all those circuit cases go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the final court of appeals. No, the Supreme Court has very limited original jurisdiction. That is, there are the only cases that originate in the Supreme Court are cases state versus state. Everything else starts at the district court level. So, for example, I'm in Georgia. Georgia has a northern, a middle, and a southern district. Now, weirdly and conversely and counterintuitively, they run diagonal across the state. So, for example, the middle district of Georgia has Columbus, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, and Athens, Georgia. Athens is north of Macon, is north of Columbus, but yet because they divided it diagonally instead of vertically, it makes no sense at all, but that's the way the state is done. But northern, middle, and southern district. And if you have a case in the middle district of Georgia, the way it's supposed to work is that when the middle district of Georgia issues a decision, it only applies to the middle district of Georgia. And then if it's appealed to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, the 11th Circuit handles Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals agrees with the middle district of Georgia. Then it applies to Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, not the rest of the nation. And then it goes to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court affirms the 11th Circuit, which affirmed the Middle District Circuit, or the Middle District Court. It applies to the nation. But we now have this wild situation in the nation, pioneered by progressive judges who say, I'm going to issue in my district an entire injunction across the nation. So what this judge has done, William Alsup, in the Northern District of California, a Clinton appointee, he said, you know what? Even though this case is only filed in the Northern District of California, I'm going to apply it to every district in the United States. The entire United States is bound by me, a judge in California. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito and Amy Coney Barrett have all said, we got to rein this in. We got to rein in the ability of a district court to issue a nationwide injunction. That's not the way the founders designed the system. It's not the way the system's supposed to work. You're not supposed to have nationwide injunctions from a district court. So what these progressive judges are doing is they're risking their power. See, if William Alsup, a judge in the Northern District of California, wants to say DOJ exceeded its bounds, they can't fire these employees, he should say, but I'm a district court in California, so it only applies in my jurisdiction. If you're in the Middle District of Georgia or you're in the Southern District of Florida, you got to go file a lawsuit there to protect your job until it goes to the circuit courts, and then the circuit courts can expand it to regions of the country. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is, whether it's an injunction on a company, whether it's a lawsuit against a company, whether it's a lawsuit against the government, these district court judges are saying, I'm doing this nationwide. And the Republicans are having a field day now in Texas because there's a district court judge in Texas where there's only one judge. Typically what happens is there are multiple federal judges in a district, and so you go to that district, you shop the case, and you're going to land on randomly selected judge. In this Texas district, though, there's only one judge, and he is a diehard MAGA, dyed-in-the-wool conservative, and so if you file a lawsuit in that court, he's going to apply a nationwide injunction that's going to help conservatives. So we win in that case, but in most of these we lose because so many of the judges, even though they're randomly selected, I don't really believe it, they wind up going to these progressive judges. They also go to a place like California where they're overwhelmingly stacked with liberals. They're going to get a liberal. The liberal's going to side with the liberals, and they're going to issue a nationwide injunction to stop Donald Trump. And Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, and Amy Coney Barrett, among others on the Supreme Court, have said, this isn't good. We're going to rein this in. So these progressives, they may be winning the fight, but they're about to lose their war. They're winning the battle. They're going to lose the war. The Supreme Court, more likely than not, within the next year is going to tell district courts, you can no longer issue nationwide injunctions. That exceeds your power. So you progressives keep filing these lawsuits. You keep stymieing Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and you're going to see the Supreme Court wipe out your ability to do this, and that will be worth the price of admission.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Just blocked all lanes for a minute or two. 285 southbound, the outer loop on the west side, Hollowell Parkway, exit 12. Got a stalled big rig cleared from the center lane, so everything is open back up, but you're still seeing the brake lights from South Atlanta Road. 285 eastbound, the inner loop slowing out of Dunwoody into Doraville from Chamblee Dunwoody Road over to 85, while 85 north, the brake lights continue up to Jimmy Carter Boulevard. Traffic brought to you by the YMCA of Metro Atlanta. Looking for a place to find what moves you? At the YMCA, they offer something for everyone. Join now and pay today. You can save more than $70. Visit ymcaatlanta.org to learn more. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When the weather is at its worst,
a line of thunderstorms that arrive as early as midnight Sunday morning, moving through downtown Atlanta around 2 a.m.
We're at our best.
This is a good time to download the WSB Radio app. You can hear our live coverage even if the power goes out at your house.
Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store.
Strong winds, heavy rain, and tornado warnings.
With your severe weather station, 95.5 WSB.
Hey, Belinda here with Dr. Ashraf from Atlanta Vision Institute to talk about a new procedure, permanent contact lenses. This is a game changer, isn't it, Dr. Ashraf?
It is for some people. This is an implantable Collamer lens. It's been around for a while, but this new technology is amazing. This is really good for people who in the past weren't candidates for LASIK. And remember, LASIK's been around for over 20 years. Technology is always advancing. So this lens is a quick procedure. We do it in the office. Vision recovers very quickly. You're back to work the next day. LASIK, it causes an inducement of dry eyes. This does not.
Ooh.
And unlike your contacts, there's no maintenance on this. There is nothing. You get up and go. It is permanent now. In the future, if you do need to remove it, we can remove it.
Oh, that's tremendous. Folks, is this something you're interested in to better your vision? Go to lensatlanta.com. That's LENS Atlanta.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group, to discuss one of the biggest blind spots that people face when saving for retirement, and it's a head scratcher. Chris, how do so many people not know what they're invested in?
That's the biggest
flaw that everybody runs into. They think they know what equities they have, they think they know what bonds they have, but they really don't know how those mutual funds or how those index funds are performing in conjunction with one another. So, I would liken this to a big pot of soup, and we're just throwing all the ingredients in the refrigerator in this thing. It's not very good. It's just a mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you like the way it tastes. Sometimes you don't. And when you don't know why. You don't know if you got too much chicken in there or too much vegetables in there or what's going on. And I ask every caller that comes in for an initial consultation, do you know how your portfolio is broken down? And they say, well, I've got, 20 or so options in my 401k, and I just picked 2 of them or 3 of them. I thought I needed some international. I thought I needed some U.S. equities. I thought I needed some bonds. And they're just guessing. So you have to absolutely know what you're invested in, and that's where we will run the 401k portfolio x-ray for you, because that'll break it down. If you're not proficient at investing and don't understand this world, we will walk you through it. Not knowing what you're invested in is a big hindrance to growing and protecting your money. We will run a portfolio x-ray for you and educate you on exactly what's in your portfolio.
Set up a time to get your complimentary portfolio x-ray today. Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858. That's 404-737-3858, or book online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Your deck is more than just a place to flip a burger or have a cup of coffee. It gathers your friends and family on all your favorite occasions and is there to enjoy every day. Hi, I'm Scott Nelson, owner of Nelson Exteriors, and we build beautiful, high-quality decks at a reasonable price. We're licensed and insured, provide exceptional customer service, design help, and we'll work with the materials you want. Strength, durability, beauty. Decks done differently. Built by Nelson Exteriors. Get your free estimate. Google Nelson Exteriors.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for mouth-watering meals and appetizing ingredients. Our low prices add up to big savings, plus over $600 in digital coupons each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. At Kroger, you always get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
You can save big on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Canada Dry. Right now, select varieties are buy 2, get 2 free with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
You can be live on Eric's show by calling 877-97-ERIC. That's 877-973-7425.
Hello, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. A Chinese restaurant has compensated 4,000 diners after a video exposed drunk teens urinating in the hot pot broth. Wow. It's one of China's biggest chain restaurants, and it showed the teenagers were caught peeing in the broth that they serve tableside. You know, this is my father growing up. There was one thing I understood intuitively about my father. He would not eat at a cafeteria-style restaurant to save his life. There is in Louisiana. They've been around the nation. You got S&S cafeterias in Georgia, the Piccadilly cafeteria. Piccadilly cafeteria is from Louisiana, and I eat at the Piccadilly cafeteria whenever I go home. They have the best chocolate pie, and they have the best chicken fried steak, and they have fantastic gumbo because it's Louisiana. I mean, I can tell you, I will go to the Piccadilly cafeteria off Essen Lane in Baton Rouge, Louisiana when I go home to visit my family, and I will get a cup of gumbo, and I'll get the chicken fried steak with the steak cut fries and a slice of chocolate pie, and it's completely unhealthy, and it's fabulous. My father is loath to eat at those places. Like, you don't see him cooking the meal, and you see him coughing and sneezing. I don't like buffets. My father has never liked buffets. Having read this story, moral of the story is when you go to China, don't eat at the buffet or at the place that leaves the hot broth simmering on at the table for everybody. That's horrifying. Ugh. Also, if you go to China and your meal meows at you, probably don't. When I was a kid, we went to China. We went to Hong Kong. It was fabulous. And Peking duck was the meal we had, and I'll never forget it. They made it tableside. It was at a super fancy restaurant in Hong Kong. They made the noodles right at the table and the scallion pancakes. And now I go to Wing Li. It is the only Michelin-starred Chinese restaurant in the Western Hemisphere. It's in the Wynn Casino in Las Vegas. It is my favorite Chinese restaurant. You get the Peking duck tableside. They carve it up for you. They make the pancakes right there. They wrap it up with the homemade hoisin sauce. It's fantastic. It is just one of the best things you'll eat. And I've tried to get my wife to go with me. She's like, I don't think I'm going to like it. I was like, I didn't think I'd like it until I tried it, and it's fantastic. If you're ever in Las Vegas, you got to get a reservation about 6 months in advance, but go to Wing Li. It's reasonably priced, although nothing in Vegas is reasonably priced anymore. There's a big story today that Vegas is a ghost town because they priced themselves out of the market now. And nobody wants to spend $20 on a bottle of Bud Light, which you shouldn't buy it anyway. But they're pricing themselves out of the market, Vegas is. Now, when I go to Vegas, I take my Eden Pure Thunderstorm with me because depending on where you stay, you got the people who are smoking in the hotel room next to you, and the Eden Pure Thunderstorm eliminates the odor. It works. It generates ozone, which latches onto the odor ion particles, the charged particles that your nose perceives as a smell, and wipes them out. Also, the new one generates plasma, so as the air sucks through the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, it touches the plasma. 99.9% of bacteria and viruses are eliminated, and it traps pet dander. It traps pollen. It traps dust. It's brilliant. It works, and you get 3 of them. And save $200 and get them for less than $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. You can plug this thing up with a USB cord, or you can plug it up into the wall. I've used it in rental cars. It just works. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. You go to Eden Pure Thunderstorm, Eden Pure Deals today. Get the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, save $200. Get 3 of them. EdenPureDeals.com, discount code ERIC3.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. A youth pastor from Futures Church in Alpharetta is arrested on child sex charges. 31-year-old Daniel Menelau used a popular messaging app to share and download more than a dozen sexually explicit videos involving children.
Mr. Menelau was a youth pastor of a church in the city of Alpharetta. So anytime we have someone engaging in this type of behavior while also occupying a position of authority or influence with young people, that is something that we are going to look into very closely, and that is what we're doing.
Roswell Police Officer Tim Lupo says Menelau is charged with 6 felony counts of possessing or controlling materials depicting minors in sexually explicit content. The investigation started last month after Roswell Police received a tip. Atlanta Crime Stoppers ups the cash reward it offers for tips from $2,000 to $5,000.
It's important because we're letting our community members know that we are committed to ensuring that these perpetrators, these criminals, are caught. And sometimes in order to do that, you have to go a little bit bigger.
Sergeant Travis Williams with Greater Atlanta Crime Stoppers says tipsters can remain anonymous. Russian President Putin says his country agrees in principle with a ceasefire plan. Putin says the proposal needs to lead to an enduring peace, and should remove the root causes of the crisis. President Trump says he is hearing talks between U.S. officials and Russia in Moscow are going well. Earlier this week, Ukraine said it would agree to a U.S.-backed 30-day ceasefire plan if Russia did as well. The White House withdraws President Trump's pick to lead the Atlanta-based CDC. Dave Weldon was set to testify before a Senate committee at his confirmation hearing today. It's not clear why the nomination was pulled. News is sponsored by FGA Roofing. It is now 2:32.
You wouldn't leave the door open when it's freezing cold outside, right? You just let all that cold air in. Christina Epworth's here. If you have a vented crawl space, that's exactly what is happening. The vents are letting cold air into your home, causing your heating bills to go up. But call my friends at American Crawl Space Solutions. They will encapsulate your crawl space, keeping the air under your home not just dry, but also nice and warm. AmericanCrawlSpaceSolutions.com, your best value for crawl space repair.
American Crawl Space Solutions, foundations too.
Bugs bugging you? Better call Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters. And Breda is proud to sponsor Scott Slade's Georgia every Thursday on Atlanta's Morning News.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Hey, if you've been thinking about selling your home, now is the time. With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, now you can sell your home fast and for more than you expect. Hey, Sean Hannity here. One of the most stressful things about selling your home is not being able to control the timing. Now, Mark Spain Real Estate, they allow you to receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days. Just go to markspain.com to find out what your guaranteed offer will be. That's markspain.com, and you can start packing.
Is painting the house on your project list? Make this the last time you paint with Rhino Shield, backed by a 25-year warranty.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hope. It's more than a word. It's a breakthrough in the making. At City of Hope, we're pushing the boundaries of science, targeting cancer at the molecular level, with teams of experts working together to personalize a treatment plan right down to your DNA with unprecedented speed, making every second count, with appointments in as little as 24 hours. City of Hope, advancing cancer care at life-saving speed. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
There's a hidden tax costing hardworking Georgians over $5,000 every year. Governor Kemp's tort reform legislation will end this tax and lower costs for families. It will also protect victims. Listen to Governor Kemp.
The bill that I will sign is not going to keep anyone in this state from receiving the justice that they deserve.
Ensuring our justice system is fair and accessible and lowering costs for us. Tell Georgia's lawmakers, stand with Governor Kemp and pass tort reform. Paid for by Protecting American Consumers Together.
At 2:34, Alex Williams in the traffic center.
Stalled Big Rig off to the right now, 285 southbound, the outer loop, Hollowell Parkway, but some residual delays back toward I-75 up there in Cobb County. That might stay in place for the afternoon commute. And we're also seeing delays pick up 285 east and southbound, the inner loop starting in Doraville from Buford Highway as you make your way past Chamblee Tucker Road, heading down to the Stone Mountain Freeway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Cloudy skies today, high 72. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms for the ride home this evening.
70 degrees in Smyrna, 69 in Fairburn, and 73 in Sewanee. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Erick Erickson Show.
Greetings, friends. It is Erick Erickson here. If you're in Georgia, remember, text ENGAGE to 33777. Tell your state senators to kill the speed cameras at schools around the state, anywhere in the state. If you're listening down in Vidalia, you're listening up in the North Georgia mountains, you can take advantage of it. Text ENGAGE to 33777. I want to go to the phones here because I was about to talk about this topic. I hadn't had an opportunity to talk about this topic. So I want to talk to Christian. Welcome to the show, Christian. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Hail Rush Limbaugh.
Well, man, I miss that guy. My gosh. You know, I gotta say, a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about something and I pulled out my phone and started texting him. And then I was like, oh crap, I can't text him, can I? Oh, so sorry.
Well, there's days where I dial in 95 and I expect to hear him, but he's not there. But
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, in the news recently, there's the airlines are all signaling a problem with ridership, and it sounds to me like they're trying to blame the tariffs on the ridership because of cost or destination or what have you. But there's not a whole lot to speak about. In recent months, they've had several really bad incidents involving the airlines, and every time one of these things happen, all you hear is, oops, someone made a mistake or whatever it may be. We have an antiquated system. And I wanted to hear what your
So first of all, given that tariffs are a pretty new phenomenon in the grand scheme of things, only in the last month has it become a thing, I have a hard time believing tariffs on foreign countries are dissuading Americans from taking a trip inside the United States. I think the larger issue is the economy as a whole. It's gotten expensive to fly. Fuel prices have been high. It's inconvenient now if you're a family to get on a plane. TSA is a miserable experience. The airports are not as crowded. I just my buddy Victor is listening, coming back from Las Vegas. He said, I'm on Delta right now leaving Vegas. Definitely not as busy as I've seen it, but a good amount of people. But the prices have definitely soared, and my Uber driver was complaining about it. Yeah, the last time I was in Vegas, my Uber driver was complaining about it as well. Things have just gotten really expensive. Disney is too expensive for people right now. Vegas is too expensive for families to go to, for friends to go to. It's just really expensive to go anywhere. And now you've got companies like Southwest Airlines that are deciding to add the baggage fee. What is the point of flying Southwest on their Boeings? I mean, you're putting your life in your hands getting on the Boeing anyway on Southwest. At least you didn't have to pay for a baggage fee. Now you're going to have a baggage fee on Southwest. They don't have first class. I mean, yeah, this is my snotty moment of the day. Yeah, I fly so much on Delta, I don't even have to buy a first class ticket. I get upgraded because I fly that much, and I put so much on my Amex card too. It's just, it's inconvenient. I have to fly because of work. My family, we go somewhere where we can drive. That's why I want a beach house in Hilton Head, so we can just go whenever as opposed to a written one. But, I mean, even though, like, you're priced out of the market on real estate these days, it's really, really, really expensive to do any of this stuff. And you can't, it's not convenient to fly. And when you do fly and you want to get the basic seats, you can't sit with your family. I had this experience. Come back. I was flying back from Jacksonville, Florida. And you're thinking, Erickson, why did you fly to Jacksonville, Florida? It's only 4 hours from your house. Yes, but I had so much work to do and no one to drive with me, so I was able to sit on the plane and get the work done. And here's the thing. I moved my seat because a husband and wife had bought tickets and they couldn't sit together. And so they wanted to sit together and asked if I would mind moving. I was like, I'm perfectly happy to move so that the two of you can sit together. If you're a family of four and you're not wealthy, you can't buy tickets to sit together on the plane. It's one thing the Biden administration was trying to do. And while I'm very sympathetic to it, I'm hesitant to get the government regulating planes on how they assign seats on planes. But at the same time, I get it. Just had a listener text me that his daughter's coming home from Oklahoma with a family of 3 kids, $2,500. It has gotten really, really expensive to fly a plane, fly on a plane, to go anywhere. It's gotten expensive at the destinations. Like I said, Disney's expensive, Vegas is expensive, Chicago's expensive, New York's expensive. Go to the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon's gotten super crowded and expensive. It's like all the cheap places, there are too many people, you can't enjoy it. All the expensive places, you're priced out of the market. By the way, fundamental realignment of the economy is probably going to happen, and it's not going to be a bad thing, even if it's short-term painful. Because of this, the economics of the situation are too ridiculous for people. Americans can't take vacations right now because everywhere is too expensive, and that's Joe Biden's fault. Now, you got to resist the temptation. The temptation is to blame the companies. Blame Disney, blame the hotels in Vegas, blame the airlines. But they're dealing with all the inflationary problems that the rest of us are dealing with. They have to pay higher wages to incentivize people to work instead of go on welfare or find other ways out or retire. They have to raise your ticket prices to be able to pay the higher wages. Fuel prices have been up. They got to raise their prices to cover the fuel costs. Food costs are up. They have to pass it on to the consumers. They're not going to go broke. They're going to pass it on to the consumers. It's basic economics. And it's a problem because every one of us is saddled with higher costs. Every one of us, and companies too. The Biden administration tried to blame corporations when it was shrinkflation. Your Snicker bar is smaller because the companies are getting greedy. No, the Snicker bar is smaller because they couldn't afford to sell it to you at the size that it was thanks to Joe Biden's economy. Airlines are trying to shrink the seats as much as they can to pack more seats on a plane just to keep the cost down. So you're more inconvenienced on a glorified bus, but at least your ticket's cheaper, but you're going to complain because your seat doesn't recline. You don't get the amenities. They're saving money as best as they can. George Will, years ago, after 9/11, had a column, and it was genius. And basically he said the combined profit of the airlines from the day Orville and Wilbur took off in Kitty Hawk until the day the Twin Towers fell was 5 cents. The combined profit of the American airline industry, 5 cents. When you take all the losses of all the airlines over time, the government bailouts, the subsidies, the regulated industry, the deregulated industry, airlines are not a profitable industry. You have an aluminum composite tube with wings that hurtles through the atmosphere unnaturally, people think. It's expensive to do with jet fuel. And guess what? The Biden administration wanted to put batteries on the planes to weigh them down further so the battery could run out somewhere over the Atlantic and you could all die and we would solve the population crisis. Stupid environmentalists. A little bit of hyperbole there, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, the economics of planes, it's not tariffs, people. And if you're blaming tariffs for a lot of things happening right now, yes, it is true. There is economic instability. The markets are going down because of tariffs. That is true because the markets want to know when are the tariffs going to happen? What are they going to be? How are they going to be in effect? How do you get around them? They want all that information. They're not getting it, so the markets are reacting. But people had stopped going to Vegas around Christmas of last year. I was in Vegas at Christmas of last year. It was a virtual ghost town because you could either go to Vegas or you could buy Christmas presents. My son's Christmas present was a trip to Las Vegas. He wanted to go to a hockey game and eat pizza at Grimaldi's at the Palazzo. I had about a bajillion Sky Miles, so I was able to do it on Sky Miles. I couldn't have done it otherwise because it's so freaking expensive to go out there right now. It's just an economic reality that Americans are having to deal with right now. And you will note that for 4 years, the media covered it up and said the economy was fine. And then suddenly, Donald Trump's been president for less than 60 days, and suddenly it's Donald Trump's fault. It's all Donald Trump's fault. No, it's not. That's a lie. There are certainly problems related to how he's talking about tariffs, related to stock market declines, but it's not really his fault that the economy isn't doing well because the economy wasn't doing well last year. It's just the media last year lied to you. The media is only now telling you the truth because Joe Biden's not there. They can tell you the truth, but their credibility is shot now, and Donald Trump should take advantage of this. As I said the first hour of the program, he should absolutely, fundamentally take advantage of this situation. He should go point out to people, if you listen to the CEOs of these companies, if you listen to the CEO of Dollar General, listen to the CEO of PepsiCo, listen to the CEO of Delta, listen to the CEO of Walmart, listen to the CEO of Target. They've all come out with their earnings statements, and they're saying this has been a problem for a year. I've only been president for less than 60 days. The media just lied to you last year, covering for Joe Biden to try to protect him. Now they can be honest about the economic situation, but they're lying, telling you it's my fault because they can't be honest and tell you they were lying last year. But we're going to make it better. You all know it was Joe Biden's fault. You all know Joe Biden's economy wasn't working for you. We're going to make it work for you. And the way we're making it work for you is we're reducing the federal government so that all the money that's going into paying U.S. bonds is going to go into the U.S. stock market and go into your companies and go into hiring you and give you more money and raise your wages. That's what we're doing. We're realigning the economy from one where the federal government has subsidized the private sector to one where the private sector needs no subsidy because it's rocking and rolling. He just needs to be straightforward. And I think he's got that opportunity. I think that opportunity is coming. It's one that needs to come. All he's got to do is tell the people what's going on because everyone already knows the media's been lying. Everyone already knows the Biden economy wasn't good. So just tell the truth and pile every ounce of blame on Joe Biden and dare him to come out and defend himself. Notice we haven't seen or heard from Joe Biden since he left. We still see and hear from Barack Obama. We still see and hear from Bill Clinton. We still see and hear from George W. Bush occasionally. The dude perfect guy. He's got to have lunch with George W. Bush the other day. I saw on Instagram. But we don't hear from Joe Biden. Is he on the beach? Is he in the nursing home? Is he drooling? Is he dead? We don't know. someone signed a book deal under his name. How are you going to have a book deal written by a man who has dementia? The Best of Joe Biden, written by Jill Biden in Joe Biden's words. Can you imagine the audio book read by Joe Biden of his tell-all book? Corn Pop. Corn Pop back in the day. Joe Biden. And, of course, everyone on TV will say, well, you know he stutters. That's not stuttering. That's not knowing what the words are because you have dementia. The cover-up. I'm telling you, all Donald Trump has to do is just blame Joe Biden for everything. Right now, he's got an opportunity to blame Joe Biden for everything and say, I'm going to fix it. Guys, you know Joe Biden screwed it up. I'm going to fix it. They lied about how badly they screwed it up. The media covered for Joe Biden. The media lied about how bad it was, but we're fixing it. We're going to make it better. We're going to make America great again. Just go out there, blame Joe Biden. You can do it, and then fix it. And the American people are going to believe you because they hated Joe Biden. They knew Joe Biden screwed it up. Now, in the meantime, go to ericforhillsdale.com and sign up for one of Hillsdale's great classes. ericforhillsdale.com. Remember, it's ERICK. You go sign up for Hillsdale's classes. They've got like 40 classes to choose from classical economics to chemistry to math to political philosophy to politics to general philosophy to literature. Take the class on C.S. Lewis. Take the class on Shakespeare. The Constitution 101, when by Larry Arnn himself, the president of Hillsdale, is brilliant. They've also got a great one on Genesis. They're taught by the best of the best, the faculty at Hillsdale College, and it's completely free. You will never pay a penny to take one of these classes from Hillsdale College. Every one of you has a subject you're interested in. Every one of you has something you want to learn more about, whether it's the history of Rome or the conflict between Athens and Sparta or the Constitution or the value of citizenship or the stories behind the development of C.S. Lewis's great works. They're all there. From Hillsdale College's faculty. You do it at your own pace. Each class is a series of episodes. You take them at your own pace. They're brilliant. ericforhillsdale.com, ERICK. Go sign up at Hillsdale College today. You'll have an articulate professor who won't be like Joe Biden's narration, will actually be someone engaging and educational and informative, and you'll love it. ericforhillsdale.com.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
250 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Got a crash in Spaghetti Junction in DeKalb County. It's on I-85 northbound, right underneath I-285, exit 95. All those bridges there, they're holding that right lane. That's why you're seeing brake lights coming up from Chamblee Tucker Road. 285 westbound, the outer loop. I'm starting to see those delays pick up out of Dunwoody from Ashford Dunwoody Road into Sandy Springs, passing Roswell Road. And downtown, already looking at about 23 minutes heading southbound from the 85-400 merge down to I-20. Northbound packing in as well, University Avenue up past Freedom Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When you need to know.
This story is developing in Atlanta.
When you want to know.
Severe weather is on its way.
When you have to know.
We'll alert you as soon as this closure clears.
Get notifications
From your source for news.
Get the WSB radio app.
Download it from your app store today.
Scott Slade here to talk to you about your health, and I think it's real important to talk about what is most likely to kill you. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, and the older we get, the more prevalent it is. But you can reduce your risk. Eat right, don't smoke, exercise, and be informed about what's going on in your own body. Like lots of potentially serious health problems, if you catch heart disease early, you vastly increase your chances of living a longer life. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging scans take less than 10 minutes and screen with 98% accuracy for heart disease. Other scans, including brain and full body, are available too. Virtual imaging is locally owned and operated in Atlanta for over 15 years, so they can make you this terrific offer. A complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse with a few minimum requirements. So don't put this off. I've done it. Call Virtual Imaging today for your free heart scan. 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-7226. Or visit their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
Has that paint on your house reached the point of surrender? You really can't put it off another year, right?
It's Jeff and Roxanne, local owners of Rhino Shield. Let Rhino Shield help you with a solution that'll make this the last time you paint.
Rhino Shield ceramic coating will last you 25 years, improve your home's curb appeal, and comes with a 25-year warranty.
Get a free estimate at rhinoshieldga.com.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
From mission-critical moments to business as usual, rely on Critical Link from Southern Link, the network that supports L3 Harris LMR and LTE radios and Samsung Galaxy Series smartphones. Critical Link, reliability in action. Call 866-450-LINC for more information on Southern Link products and deals. Or visit Highfly Technologies in Atlanta or NextLink in Duluth. Go to southernlink.com to find a dealer near you.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB. Join Eric's Army of Activists. Text ARMY to 33777 now.
I have a request. Can we be intellectually consistent, please? Just that's all I ask. I try to be intellectually honest. I try to be consistent. Sometimes I'm not. I try to explain the inconsistencies when they're there. But so the West Virginia House of Delegates has passed a bill banning artificial food dyes and preservatives. They say it's bad for public health. Artificial food dyes are bad. Preservatives are bad. Actually, it keeps stuff on the shelves longer. It makes food cheaper. West Virginians are poor. This is going to drive up their costs. But everybody's in the MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again. They're buying into Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nonsense and his conspiracies. That's fine if you want to. That's fine. Think you're wrong. That's fine. We'll see over time. But they passed a bill banning this stuff because of public health concerns. They also passed a bill raising water pollution limits in the state's rivers. Can we be consistent? If artificial food dyes are bad, I'm pretty sure water pollution is bad as well in the rivers, and some of that stuff are forever chemicals that aren't going to get out. So can we at least be consistent, people? Please be consistent. I don't ask for much. I just ask for a little consistency. I would very much like that. Now, I got to spend just a moment here on Mahmoud Khalil. City Journal actually has a piece on this by Hannah Myers. You know he's the guy that they're deporting. She writes, on Saturday, immigration enforcement agents arrested Mahmoud Khalil, a Syrian national with U.S. permanent resident status, and removed him to a detention facility in Louisiana. A Department of Homeland Security spokesman explained Khalil's arrest in coordination with the State Department was made in support of President Trump's executive order against anti-Semitism and because Khalil led activities aligned with Hamas. He was arrested at his Columbia University-owned apartment near the school. He's been a ringleader in anti-Semitic activity that's kept Columbia on lockdown. People invaded Trump Tower today in New York City to protest, demanding his release. But he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. He has no right to be here. This is from City Journal. Video appear to show Khalil standing with the bullhorn near the University Library entrance at Bernard Surrounded by cafe mass disruptors, the gathering featured propaganda bearing the label Hamas Media Office. It included a book celebrating the October 7th massacre entitled Our Narrative, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Khalil's detention coincided with Marco Rubio's post about getting rid of Hamas supporters. He's a well-documented rabble-rouser for Hamas. It's not just a matter of speech, it's a matter of his actions. He's not a martyr for a cause. He's a disruptor who supports Hamas, who is not an American citizen, who has no need to be in this country. I am a defender of free speech. Had the man just stood up and said, I support Hamas and think every Israeli should be dead, I disagree with him, but I'd support his right to say it. But he went beyond that to actual advocacy for Hamas, taking over parts of college campuses, coordinating those sorts of things. This went beyond free speech. His actions should have consequences. And it is wild to me, the big proponents of cancel culture out there on the left who think when conservatives say anything negative, don't even allow them to dead name someone like Ellen Page. And that's dead naming, it's Elliot. But you want to defend a Hamas supporter is wild to me. Wild. Now, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to take one day off. You'll have to forgive me. The mountains are calling. I'm headed to hit golf balls, smoke cigars and drink bourbon for the weekend and relax. Enjoy some needed time off before Monday hits when all of a sudden we got a bajillion radio stations. I'm just going to go refresh my mind for a brilliant show on Monday, which, by the way, will also be broadcast live on C-SPAN, Mom and Dad. You'll be able to see your son and not just hear him on Monday. Yes, as I understand it, all next week, I'll be the main attraction on C-SPAN, noon to 3. See y'all then.
WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
It's really, really hard now to find a primary care doctor. And I keep hearing complaints from people. They're getting letters from a doctor who they've seen for years who says, okay, if you're going to stay with me, you're going to have to pay a subscription fee. And these subscription fees are all over the board. They can be from a couple of $100s a year to many thousands a year that you pay up front just to be able to see the doctor you've already been